Hello and welcome to another edition of the Time Flies podcast. I'm, of course, your host, Dariel. And as you can see, I have two floating heads and I have one and I have one mysterious guest. I got the worlds of Time Flies colliding, my people. I got my guy Micah in the building. You guys know Micah from our preview NBA episodes.
And we're back at it. Oh, yes.
And go ahead, Micah. Go ahead, Micah.
Oh, absolutely. If I may take this time right now, by the way, I'm so glad to be a part of this again. I would love to take a victory lap and really harken back to the preseason when we were making our bold predictions on this very same podcast when I told you the Dallas Mavericks would miss the playoffs. And sure enough, they did. For many of the same reasons I said. You decided to neglect Jalen Brunson. Look what he's doing in New York. You also decided to give a lot of money to guys that have never really been proven on a playoff scale and don't really play any defense. So look at what they did. They finished dead last in rebounding rate since they traded for Kyrie Irving.
Where'd you have them? Do you remember where'd you have them?
Look, I had them in the play-in, but I had them losing in the play-in, so they wouldn't have made the playoffs anyway. But
you get credit.
I get credit. I bet $10 on them to miss the playoffs, so I made $200 in return.
Hey! Michael on the come up, baby. That's what I'm talking about. And also join us. We have a brand new member of the Time Flies podcast. I've known this man for a long time. I got to meet him when I was out in LA, but we just never been able to get him officially on the Time Flies podcast until this moment right now. I got my guy Chris Hall in the building. Chris, what's good, boy?
What's up, guys? I'm glad to be on for the first time. You know, NBA playoffs coming up, man. Excited.
The best time of the year. You know what it is. And I should
Lakers, you know.
Exactly. I should let the listeners and viewers know. Chris Hall, diehard Laker fan, so he will be repping the Lakers. I'm very interested to hear what he said. And for our last guest, we have a special call into the Time Flies studio. We got Steph in the building. Steph, what's good? Where are you right now?
Sure, I'm just, stuck in some LA traffic at the moment. But I'm on my way to my little studio. So halfway through, I'm sure you'll be able to see my lovely face and we'll be able to take it from there. But what's up, man? I'm doing good. It's playoff time again. My Clippers are in.
Oh, good.
That's good news. And then we'll make our predictions later. And then Dario could tell us all how much he hates Kawhi.
That's a fact.
15th time.
That's a fact. Micah, do you remember those? Remember in those episodes, I was telling you, and I was getting very adamant that I was like talking to my friend Steph about Kawhi. So you're gonna be able to see him soon. This is the guy I was telling you about and why Kawhi is not worth all the trouble that they went through.
I'm looking forward to being a fly on the wall. I remember you saying in the preseason that this season was title or bust for the LA Clippers. And here we are, essentially having the same discussion that we have had the last 4 years, which is a question of health, a question of rim protection, and a question of playmaking. They still have not really answered any of those. And unless you're going to get really an outlier performance over the next 20 plus games from Russell Westbrook, they're going to be at home and they're going to be 1, 2, 3 Cancuning it again.
Hey, I got Micah on my side. Let's go.
Damn.
No, I'm kidding.
Damn, the Clipper slander just continues.
Steph, when we
get hold on. Wait, who does Micah support? I need to understand where he's from and who he supports before we start this.
Ooh.
Okay, so yeah, I must say, preface, I was born in the Bay Area, but I am not a Golden State Warriors fan. I'm actually a Utah Jazz fan. So at this point in the season, I don't really have a horse race. Oh, because I've lived in Salt Lake City for a lot of my life.
Yo, Steph, it's okay, man. Just because he's not on your Clipper bandwagon doesn't mean that he's a bad guy. Okay, he knows basketball. He understands what it is to invest in a player that actually plays and not just creates load management and all that shit.
Do you want to just start it off with the Clip series, bro? You seem really eager to let off about this.
No. All right, this is just how I feel. When we get to the Clipper series, then I'm gonna let you rip. I'm gonna let you go, no doubt. But to start off, let's get into it. Before we get into the playoff picks, what I wanted to do, I wanted to go around the room and just give our takes about who our MVP is. I mean, to me, I guess I'll kick the party off. To me, it's between two people. And the third person looking on the outside looking in is Giannis. And Giannis is having a career year. But I think it's between two people. I think it's between Embiid and Jokic. Micah and I also had an episode right before this one with my friend Reed. We talked about how just why I think Embiid is the MVP, and he's averaging coming into the playoffs. He's averaging 33 points, 10 rebounds, 4.2 assists on 54% field goal shooting, which is crazy. He's gonna be making half of his shots. 33% on three-point field goal. So, I mean, and again, I don't like the narrative of like, this is his just due. I don't want him to get the MVP just because like he's been in second place for the last 3 seasons behind Jokic and it's kind of like a charity case. No, he deserved it. He's putting his stamp on the game. And let's not forget about that game that he had against the Nuggets maybe about a month ago where he dropped, 46? Something like that on Jokic. Micah, am I around?
That was at the end of January. And then he deflected the second opportunity, which, by the way, up until the All-Star break, we didn't have an MVP conversation because it was silly to have one, and it was obviously going to be Jokic who was running away with it. His team was on pace for almost 60 wins. He was on pace to be the third player ever to average a triple-double, first center to do so. Both of those came back to earth after the All-Star break, and I think as a result, he lost the MVP more than Embiid won it. But credit Embiid for taking the crown when it was there for the taking. He will win the MVP award, not just my vote. Almost 80% of the vote is already in terms of people who have submitted their ballots, and well over 70% of them have him as their number one. And a couple of things that I want to run through. I was also between Embiid and Jokic 1 and 2, but I just have to stand up a little bit for Giannis. He finished as a distant third, and he finished as a distant third to 2 players having all-time great seasons.
Yeah.
Giannis this season became the first player since Wilt to average better than 30, 10, and 5 on 60% shoot or 60% true shooting.
Yeah.
Wilt is the only other player in NBA history to have done that, and Giannis joined that this season. However, both of the players ahead of him on my ballot, Embiid 1 and Jokic 2, put up even more absurd numbers from a historical standpoint. Throughout NBA history, there's always this player has done this once, and then there's Wilt did it 18 times, basically. Jokic broke Wilt's record this season for most amount of assists total, as well as per game, as well as per 75. But I think losing the triple-double narrative, as well as his team and his own play really coming back to earth after the All-Star break and after his team went up by 6 games over Memphis for the top seed in the Western Conference, that bit him. Embiid took this crown and really took it and ran with it. 33, 10, and 4 on 64% true shooting.
Yeah, no,
those numbers have also never been seen since Wilt. And on top of all of that, the version of Embiid that we saw over the second half of this season, not only offensively, but defensively, was the best player in the league over that span. And while I don't consider him to be the best player overall, MVPs historically have been won over the last 2 months of the season. Take Charles Barkley, for example, take Malone in 97. This is another case of one player was way out ahead of the pack and just decided, you know what, do I really want to win 3 in a row? Is it just added pressure on me knowing that I'm going to be wholly judged on what happens between April and June in the playoffs?
It's a fact.
That's what Jokic realized. And I think that he lost this MVP more than Embiid won it, but my vote will go to Joel.
Really? Nah, man. I think Embiid won it more because he had that 46 game against Jokic back in January, like you said. No. Was it 46 or was it 52? No, it was 46 against Denver and then 52. Yeah.
52 against the Celtics.
Exactly.
Essentially sealed it.
Exactly.
Was that last week or 2 weeks ago where he just sealed the deal? Where he was it the Celtics? I think it was the Celtics.
The Celtics game is the one that sealed the deal. Yeah.
And yes, it was without Robert Williams and Jaylen Brown, and it was the only time that the Sixers have beat the Celtics this season.
Yeah, man. So, C-Hall, if you have a pick and you want to let us know what you got.
You know what? My guy, has always been Giannis. He's by far, if the Bucks didn't have him, they would, easily not be in the race. But I'm going to give it to Embiid this year. He really fought through at the end to try to really solidify it. Even though they could have gave it to Jokic again, if he was really, on the court, every game, hooping. But I think he kind of took his foot off the gas pedal a little bit towards the end. So Embiid took off. But yeah, Embiid definitely deserved it this year. They could have gave it to him last year.
And the year before that. He was in the running for the last like 2
year.
seasons.
Yeah.
Let me
So
interject. Would you have voted for Embiid each of the last 2 years? Because I think Jokic deservedly won it the last 2, but I'm also not going to vote for him this year.
The first season he won it, I think he deserved it. Last season, I would have given it to Embiid. Yeah, but the MVP award is a tricky one. We have this conversation every single year. But what does it mean? The most valuable player? Is it the best player? Is it this? Is it that? And then we start getting into semantics. So like it's just like it's like an inception. You could go deeper and deeper in talking about the topic of the MVP. But C Hall, did you want to add anything else to your Embiid pick for MVP?
Well, he's just like Giannis, except for he just has an upper hand in size. So I think he's super dominant. Nobody could really stop him. And this year he really showed that. His mid range was just dominant, man. He just post up, his defense. He was all around just a stud this year. So,
but last but not least, we got our guy Steph, and he's been waiting very quietly, very, very respectfully, not interrupting. Steph, do you have a pick for MVP? Who's your guy?
I want to start off. I think regular season awards are meaningless because it's just a regular season award. But I don't know. I would give it to Giannis, I guess. But Giannis has been kind of melodramatic a lot this season. Kind of been acting like a diva. So I'll give it to Embiid. Fuck it. Yeah, just give it to Embiid. He's had a great run, especially the past couple months. And like I said, this is kind of a meaningless award to me. Like, I think I'm with Max Kellerman. Like, they should give an MVP like at the end of the playoffs, or they should have a playoff MVP, something like that. I mean, regular season now, a lot of stars take half the season off anyway, including my boy Kawhi. So it's just like, I don't know.
That's true. Yeah.
Like, I wonder why you don't care about regular season awards.
Oh my God.
But they did change the you have to play a certain amount of games, right, to get MVP next year. So I like how
the new CBA agreement. Thank God. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I feel like the NBA, like they know that it's like not even a controversy, but they know it's going to be a topic every single this time of year. It's like, what does MVP mean? And then that goes into ratings, that goes into radio ratings, like everybody talking about it, and they like it. So, but I mean, eventually, I feel like they should really, really find the answer as far as like, okay, regular season, playoffs, maybe playoffs and finals MVP. So. All right, but now we're going to get into some picks. Thank you, gentlemen, for giving me your MVP picks. We're going to find out the answer to that maybe next couple weeks. So now let's get into it. We're going to start off in the West Coast. We're going to start off with the number 1 seed Denver Nuggets versus the winner of the play-in game between OKC Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves. So I'll go first, get the party started. I have the Nuggets beating, doesn't matter. I have the Nuggets beating the Thunder or the Timberwolves, and I have them winning in 5. Ideally, I would actually like to see the Thunder in the 8th seed because I just want to see SGA in his 3rd playoff appearance. First with the Clippers as a rookie, second in the OKC in the bubble, and then this would be his 3rd appearance. And SGA took that late this year that we all did not see coming, and when he actually did, we started to see how good of a player he was. And OKC, they finally realized that their time they need to rush up the timeline because they can't waste any more SGA seasons. Unfortunately, Chet Holmgren was a big part of that plan, but he broke his foot, I believe, last summer. So hopefully next year he'll be able to contribute a lot more to the team. But as far as right now, I just want to see SGA in the spotlight. That's it. I just want to see him in the playoffs. I want to see him because this is the first time that it's actually his team. The rookie, when he was rookie with the Clippers in the playoffs, he was a rookie. He was under the leadership of Patrick Beverley, Lou Will. And in the bubble season, he had CP3. That's the point guard, like Stephen A. likes to say. But yeah, neither of those teams were his team. This is unequivocally his team. And I want to see if he presents any sort of challenge. I want to see how he reacts to being down 2-0, 2-1. And yeah, so that's my pick. Micah, 1 versus 8. Nuggets versus who you got, my boy?
So I also have the Nuggets beating regardless of who wins tomorrow night, but I do believe Minnesota will get back on track and win that game.
Okay.
They'll have Gobert back, which means they're going to have massive physical advantages in the front court. I expect him to dominate the glass on both ends. one of the reasons why last night the Thunder were able to stay so close is because they were relying heavily on guys who are not shooters just to make shots pretty much the entire first half before SGA was able to take over. I don't expect Lou Dort and Josh Giddey to both have career nights, essentially in back-to-back games, both on the road, both in desperation environments where teams are focused solely on slowing down your best players. Even without Jaden McDaniels tomorrow night, SGA might go for 40, but I expect the Timberwolves to get back on track, dominate the glass, and just be a more physically imposing team. Although I will say this, I'm really looking forward to seeing Lou Dort try to beat up Anthony Edwards for 48 minutes. That'll be very fun to watch.
Yeah, Lou
At the end of the day,
lockdown players.
Denver is the second best home team in the entire league. They might have the best home court environment at elevation with those fans.
Micah, how many games?
Look, if it's the Thunder who win tomorrow night, I expect them to sweep. But if it's the Timberwolves, I'll give them a game and say it's Denver in 5.
Gentlemen sweep.
Okay. You know what? I got a slightly just different take. I think like what Micah said, I think the Timberwolves will get back on track, and win some games. But I do have Timberwolves, taking Denver in 6.
Wow, 6 games,
with Gobert back. Anthony Edwards is going to get back on track. He had 7 or 9 points against the Lakers the other night. He played probably his worst game I ever seen him play. So I think he will put up another 20-plus night, tomorrow in the playing game. And then Gobert will be a huge addition back on the defensive track. Cat will probably, put up some numbers, and hopefully they get McDaniels back, to play a little bit of defense.
McDaniels is done. He's done. Like, he broke his hand. He's not coming back.
Okay.
Nowhere near close.
Okay. So that's a big loss. But but they're gonna need Noel and all the other young.
They got players, yo. They have players.
They could put up points, but they just need that defense to be a lot better, to even compete with Denver. Like Micah said, Denver is tough at home. Home environment, and they go off at home, so they got to grab a game. If they make it after the plan, they got to grab a game in Denver, to even have hope. So I got Denver winning in 6.
I thought you said you had the T-Wolves in 6.
No, I got Denver in 6. Yeah.
Oh, they were gonna
Denver. So like another game from what you had them.
So Steve, you had Timberwolves. You had Timberwolves versus Nuggets. Micah, you had Timberwolves versus Nuggets. And I didn't really have one specifically. I said, ideally, I would like to see OKC Thunder. But you know what? Damn it, I'm going to pick OKC Thunder because, one, I can't piggybacking off of what Chris Hall was saying about the Timberwolves. They have McDaniels, who's their best perimeter defender. He's out for the rest of the year, breaking his hand crying over. I really don't know what the fuck happened.
He punched the wall. Unbelievable.
Yeah, but why did he punch the wall? Was it a bad call? Was he frustrated with himself? Or
I don't know. I think he was frustrated. And they said he led all of college last year in technicals, which was unbelievable. And he transitioned that same attitude into the league, which is, you got to change that. So now they're suspending the players on the Timberwolves. If they make it farther, they're suspending them now for getting technicals and stuff. So
yeah, that McDaniels punch to the wall or whatever he punched, that was just so idiotic. But another reason why I'm taking OKC is because, man, last year seeing Cat in the playoffs versus Memphis in the first round, that really just turned my opinion on him. He just wasn't smart. His basketball
did he play bad last year? Because I remember didn't they give him a run? They gave the Grizzlies a run, right?
Yeah, they won
6 or 7.
No, Grizzlies won in 7. But if you watch the games, the Cat was in foul trouble. He was making terrible decisions, and it was just it's like this guy's in the conversation for being top 3 power forwards in the league, and then you get into the playoffs, and it's his team. Ant-Man last year was a rookie, I believe, or 2 seasons ago, whatever. It's his team, and it still is. Yeah. And you're making boneheaded plays like that. I just don't like the way he carries himself during the playoffs. And again, I want to see SGA, and I want to see SGA in the playoffs. So, all right, gentlemen, that's 1 versus 8 in the West Coast. We're gonna go a little West Coast to East Coast action. You feel me? We're gonna do the same thing. The 1 seed versus the 8 seed in the East. So the 1 seed Milwaukee Bucks versus the winner of the Chicago Bulls or the Miami Heat. Micah, I'm gonna let you go first, my boy. Who you got?
I'm sticking with the Bulls tomorrow night. Again, I think this is one of those games that I'm going to watch, but also just be thinking in the back of my mind, does it really matter who wins? Because I expect the Bucks to just trounce whoever wins tomorrow night. Both of the teams who are playing tomorrow night are anemic on the 3-point line. One of the reasons why Miami, and really their sole reason why they just crashed back to earth this year, last year, they were relying on guys who are not particularly good shooters and playmakers in order to finish way more than their career averages. And then this season, they just came back to earth in the exact wrong direction. And you saw it pretty much on full display against Atlanta. They lost the 3-point margin. They didn't have guys to clean up on the back end, and they were getting killed on the glass. Chicago, contrary to what Laker fans would have you to believe, Chicago has actually been the number one defense since the All-Star break, and they found a way to really slow down the Raptors. I expect them to go into Miami and silence the Heat culture one last time, and then we're just going to be having a long, really bad, really hard-fought discussion, I guess, this offseason with the Heat, which was, why did you strike out in the Donovan Mitchell sweepstakes? If you had him over Tyler Hero, would we be having a completely different conversation? But again, I think the Bucks are going to sweep whoever wins tomorrow night, but I think Chicago will pull off the upset.
Okay, so you got Chicago winning tomorrow, and you got the Bucks versus Chicago, and you got Bucks in 4 in that series.
Sweep, yeah.
All right. Before we move on, Steph has joined the building. Steph, what's good, boy? How you doing?
I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we're all good. Yeah, we're all good. So,
Perfect.
Steph, right now, we just got finished doing the 1 versus 8 seed in the West Coast. The Denver Nuggets versus the winner of OKC Thunder or Timberwolves. You want to give us your pick? Who do you have winning tomorrow, OKC or Timberwolves? And then the winner of that going against the Nuggets. Who do you got?
I got OKC winning tomorrow. I think the emotional impact of that terrible loss by the Timberwolves, they had every opportunity to win that game and they just could not. It was so frustrating. So I just think they're not, and something's wrong with that 8 seed. Every year in the West, whoever has that 8 seed just doesn't make it. So yeah, I got OKC beating Minnesota, and then against Denver, I want to say 5, but I like my boy Shea, so I'm gonna say 6. So I'm gonna say Denver and 6.
Okay, cool. You keep giving me ammo, Steph. You keep giving me ammo.
What ammo?
The ammo is, why are you doing this to yourself? Why do you want to watch SGA fucking succeed in the playoffs and keep watching?
Because that's my boy regardless. Like, bro, I'm not the one who was in the front office who made the decision to trade him. Like, that's not on me. No, I'm not. That's not me, bro. That's not me. Look, you can ask Santiago. He is my witness, bro. When I heard about the trade for Paul George, that night, he's the one who told me, he's like, yo, you guys just got Paul George. You traded for him. And I was like, well, who did we give up? I was like, fuck, like, do we give up SGA? If it was up to me, dog. Look, I'm going to explain it. If it was up to me, I would have kept SGA and had him run with Kawhi with whoever was on the team back then. I think Patrick Beverley, Lou Williams, whoever.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, Kawhi, he literally, like, held a gun to the Clippers' head and said, if you don't get Paul George, I'm going to go to the Lakers. Like, if the Clippers fumbled the bag on that, if they let Kawhi walk across the hall and join AD and LeBron, they just couldn't let that happen, man. It was like they couldn't let that happen. So they had to do whatever they needed to get Paul George, because that's what Kawhi was requesting.
Yes, I understand. But listen, man, the reason why I'm so upset with you and your fucking organization is because you guys fucking gave up the house for Paul George. Paul George is not, in my eyes, I've never seen him as being that missing piece. Kawhi, okay, cool. He's coming off a championship with Toronto, and okay, cool. Kawhi has the Clippers organization just controlling it. I get it. But it's the thing is that, like, in order to give up everything you have for Paul George, it's like, if you gave up everything you had for, I don't know who was available at the time, somebody, but I know for a fact there was maybe one or a couple of other players that I would have given all of that stuff up in order to get that player. Paul George, to me, like, in that moment,
I agree.
He didn't really do enough, and
I wasn't ecstatic. I wasn't ecstatic when we got him. Chris, I know you love Paul George.
Man,
so go ahead, defend your boy.
I know, man, because I remember always telling Dario back in the bonus room, man, Paul George is my guy, and he was dominating this year for the Clippers. If Kawhi
dominating is a strong word, bro.
No, he dominated. I'm telling you, he was putting up plenty of 40-point games this year, 30-point games. He carried the load, man, until Kawhi got back. He carried the load, and honestly, I felt he played better than Kawhi this year.
That's great. Right, I mean, what has he done in the playoffs though?
But it doesn't matter.
Come on, bro. Look, it hasn't. Paul George, like regardless of what you think about him and even what I think of him, at the end of the day, I can live with that decision because Paul George willed the Clippers team 2 seasons ago past the number 1 seed Utah when everyone was picking Utah and Kawhi went down in game 5 that I was at, game 4 that I was at. Paul George, game 5, went into Utah, went fucking off, got the win in a hostile environment. Yeah. Game 6, came back. I think the Clippers were down by like 20 plus points. And Paul George and Trey. That was one of the greatest
shooting variance performances I've ever seen.
Yeah,
essentially,
and Terrence Mann brought him back and they won.
The Jazz scored 70 in the first half, and it didn't really matter because Reggie Jackson basically could just shoot it with his eyes closed and it was going in from half court.
Listen, man, playoff. I'm not even gonna call him that. Paul George redeemed himself. Paul George redeemed himself in last playoffs, and he redeemed himself for what the fuck happened in the bubble. Again, we're gonna forget what happened in the bubble. 3-1, Denver. Don't get it twisted, bro. Kawhi's at fault too. You cannot be up 3-1.
I know, but like everyone dismisses the bubble, you know, and like they can't dismiss that though. And it's like, bro, like they were playing in a fucking AAU gym in Orlando, you know, like they didn't have real fans, they didn't have to travel on a flight, they went back to a comfy hotel room.
With the same formula. The Bucks were not a good shooting team.
Yeah, but we're talking about like the atmosphere of the games. Like they're playing in a bubble, like it doesn't. Like it, I don't know. And they had a 3-month break in between the bubble and when the pandemic started and ended the regular season. Like everything lined up the Lakers' way for them to win that championship. Nobody knows if AD and LeBron would have stayed healthy and made it through the playoffs if there was no pandemic. Because they cared
about the regular season.
But Micah, nobody had the home court.
Yeah, nobody had the home court.
Lakers balled their ass off to try to earn it, though. They're playing in an AAU gym with fake crowd noise and people on Zoom and on the screens right behind them. Like, I mean, you can call it a bubble whatever you want. It's going to be an asterisk forever, and there's going to be a very deep divide on people who consider it legitimate and people who don't consider it legitimate. Because I've made this argument again, even if the Clippers don't blow that lead and they win that championship, the narrative against the Clippers in the NBA, what the Lakers are experiencing with the bubble, if the Clippers would have won the championship, everyone would be dismissing this championship. Like everybody, everyone would say that wasn't a real championship. I definitely disagree because when I talk about LeBron James, one of the first things I say is he's a 4-time champion, and nobody scoffs at that. They don't say, "Oh, he's a 3-time
because he's proven outside the bubble."
Micah, I don't think you ever brought that up with me, but I don't hate people. Wow, that's too much. But I think MJ's the GOAT, and the reason why MJ's the GOAT to me over LeBron's because 6-0 versus 4-6, 4-7, whatever his finals record is. And I know the finals is not all one person, but when you are the guy on the team and you reach a championship, you're the person to put the foot on the foot on the throat, the foot on their necks to win the championships. And LeBron, he has 6 losses. I get it, but whatever. Gentlemen, let's
hold on. One more thing about the Lakers and their legitimacy of their championship. If the Lakers were that legitimate, they wouldn't the following year have had to fight for their lives in the play-in. They would, if they were that legitimate of a championship team, there would have been some sort of dynasty, and there wasn't. The following year, they had a terrible season.
I will not allow you. Look, I'm not a Lakers fan, but you're spewing a lot of pretty wrong takes right now. Look.
How was that a wrong take? They had to fight for their lives against Golden State,
they
the
won
following year, and then the year after that was Russell Westbrook.
They won the championship with below average shooting. They won the championship in essentially a one-time thing where their formula was not really sustainable over multiple seasons.
Yeah, it was just the one or 2 years.
This is a shooters league, which means that you're going to have a lot of shooting variance up and down. One of the reasons why Golden State is the highest floor team is because even when their shooting goes down in the wrong way in variance, they still have the best shooters, so their average is going to be higher than everybody else's. The Milwaukee Bucks won the following year with almost the same formula, which is we don't have a whole lot of great shooters on the team, but we are going to dominate in the half court defensively, and we're going to win in transition offensively.
Listen,
so
Micah.
The other thing that I think you're probably overlooking is by a team having to play all the way into October in the NBA Finals, they were going to have to essentially work their ass off in the offseason, which was much more shortened. And for a team led essentially by a 35-year-old LeBron, it was really a lot to ask on him. And really, it was an Anthony Davis injury situation that stopped them from being in the top 3 to 4 seeds in the Western Conference. I don't think there was a single team that year, and certainly not one of the older teams in the league, the Lakers, that were going to have an amazing season the following year when they had the shortest offseason in NBA history.
We good?
That's still an asterisk.
Yeah.
No, Steph, I'm with you, bro. Like I think it's an asterisk. Like, listen, yeah. I don't think you could dismiss it, but I think like every time someone brings up that championship, you could always like give them a little bit of a side eye. That's the much I won't say that it's not valid. I will never say that, but I will give them a little.
Still hanging in the rafters. It's on Wikipedia. 100%. Like it's a championship, but at the end of the day, it's like
yeah. So I mean, we're probably gonna get into this more when we get to the Clipper series and also the Lakers series, but. Steph, you gave us the 1 versus 8 seed in the West, and now we just see Hall or Micah, I forgot which one. They just finished giving the 1 versus 8 seed in the East. So it's the Milwaukee Bucks versus the winner of Chicago Bulls and the Miami Heat tomorrow night. Who do you have winning tomorrow night, and then who do you have winning against the Bucks when they face off in the series?
I'd like to see Chicago win because of my boy Pat Bev. But no, I mean Miami, they should win that game, right? Like I don't know what's up with Miami this year. I know our
Reed, boy.
And Trent, I know they're saying like shooting is an issue, but I thought they had a bunch of shooters. I thought that's something they were good at. So I don't know.
That is something that they were good at last year, and it's one of the reasons why they finished as well as they did.
We talking about this year, Micah.
They were relying
what happened to Duncan Robinson?
They were relying on a bunch of guys that essentially shot way above their career averages. Which one of the rules of averages is you're always, at the end of the day, likely going to average your average. So it came back in the exact wrong direction this season. And defensively, the Miami Heat didn't guard the three-point line as well as they have in the past. So they were basically losing the three-point margin every single game. And when you don't have enough interior scoring to be, say, the Lakers that have LeBron and AD that can make up for some of those other deficiencies on the outside, you're not going to win that many games in this league.
So, Steph, you had you said you would like to see Chicago.
If I had to put money on it, I'd say Miami though.
You gotta pick one, boy.
Fuck. I'll go Chicago. Fuck it. I'll go Chicago, and then Chicago gets a gentleman's sweep against Milwaukee. So in 5. I would have liked to have. You mean
Milwaukee? You mean Milwaukee gentleman's sweep? Over
Chicago. I'm sorry if I misspoke. Milwaukee, a gentleman's sweep over Chicago in 5. But no, I would have liked to have Treat and Reed on because at this point, it's like the Jimmy Butler's old and like it looks like this team is in no man's land. And so I'm wondering is it time to move on from Spoelstra or keep the coach and just get a new team and start over? Like I'm curious what the Miami Heat fans would want from their team because right now they're just in no man's land. They had that great run in the bubble that were kind of like a March Madness team. And they had the heartbreaker of the Eastern Conference Finals last season. So I don't know. I just feel like the Miami Heat, they're just like in no man's land. And I mean, but they have Spoelstra, but some people think they should move on. Have a fresh,
the rumor is the rumor because Dame Lillard yesterday or 2 days ago, he said that this is time to talk to the organization and see what's really going to happen because things might change. The rumor is that he might something with Miami. He might go to Miami or he'll get Butler to go to Portland. I don't know how much that changes, but now I feel like
chase rings, huh?
Oh yeah, I know, but that's just the rumor that I've been seeing on the internet and stuff. Okay, so you got Chicago winning tomorrow, and then you got the Bucks sweep over Chicago. C-Hall, did you give your pick for this already?
No. So I'm gonna go with Chicago too. I think they'll they'll win tomorrow. Just because Jimmy Butler, it seems like he's the only one scoring for him. Kyle Lowry went off. Kyle Lowry went off too, but who's been a disappointment is Adebayo, man. He hasn't been scoring, a whole lot for him lately. But he has to show up tomorrow for them to win. They need at least 20 out of him. I feel for them to win. Chicago, DeRozan should put up numbers tomorrow, and Levine as well, and Vucevic. They got a good team over there in Chicago. They just haven't figured it out yet. And
that Lonzo Ball injury fucked them up, bro.
Yeah.
Like that, they were doing so fucking well with Lonzo. So, my bad, Chris. I interrupted. So if you want to keep going.
No. So I got
But the Chicago even have like a top 20 player?
No.
Right. So like they're never gonna do anything.
Okay, let me interject really quickly on Chicago.
Go ahead, Micah.
Instead of player rankings or system or just not really figuring out how to play basketball in the current age, the biggest problem with Chicago is just their neglect of the three-point line. They've put together a team full of pull-up jump shooters that aren't really in the same class as pretty much every team that they're going to have to beat. They take the fewest amount of threes in the entire league. They make the fewest amount, and they're inherently reliant on getting to the rim and getting to their spots in the mid-range. They're also a team that doesn't get to the free throw line as much. So if you ever have a night when you're not crisp in pretty much all of your executions from inside the arc, you're losing some of the most coveted shots in the entire league. And just from a purely math standpoint, you have to be pretty much perfect in order to overcome some of those deficiencies. And look, they can have nights when Levine and DeRozan are both hot, but unless that's the case, you're going to lose against better teams.
Okay, so I think I haven't. Micah, you gave your pick for that one already, right? Bucks in Chicago?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you did. All right, so I'll go. I have the Bucks. I got Chicago winning tomorrow night because the Heat, I don't know, they've just been looking really weird lately. A lot of bad body language. I don't know what's going on with the team. Like, it just looks like they're not together like they were last year. And again, not the Jimmy Butler, just the whole organization is looking like, okay, what are we gonna do? So I got Chicago over Miami tomorrow night. I'm sorry, Trent and Reed. Shout out to you guys. We wanted you on the podcast, but shit happens. And then Chicago versus Bucks. I'm gonna give a gentleman's sweep. Bucks over Chicago. Listen, last season the Bucks beat the Bulls in a gentleman's sweep, and it was because Zach LaVine was playing through injury. But like, I feel like that's the news on Zach LaVine every season. Is like, is his knee healthy? Like, he's just high flyer. He's one of the best underrated players in the league, but he can't show it because he's injured. And then like now the game against Toronto, I heard someone when they were announcing it, they were just saying how Zach LaVine feels like he's 100% and he's very confident in his knee. So if he's confident in his knee, I want to see it. I want to see him actually ball out. I want no excuses. I want to hear that you're healthy, and I want to see you. I want to see you in the spotlight without having any excuses of like, I'm injured, I'm hurt, I was playing through something. And hopefully it could go 6 because I could see Chris Middleton is not, he just hasn't been himself this year. Is very inconsistent because of injuries. So, I mean, they need Chris Middleton in order to be himself, in order to win a championship, in my opinion. So if he's not healthy and if he doesn't seem like his old self, I think the Bulls could push it to 6. But for now, I have the Bucks in a gentleman's sweep. Okay, so now we're going to move back to the West Coast. We're going to go for the 4-5 top half, 4-5 in the top half of the bracket. So we got the Phoenix Suns versus the LA Clippers. Let's go! Steph, this is you, baby. All you. You go first. Red carpet.
Man, there's a lot of talk about like how they should have lost that last game against the Suns, so they would have been the 6th seed and they could play the Sacramento Kings and be on like the easier side of the bracket, because obviously on this side you have the Suns, who now everyone's picking the Suns with Kevin Durant. And then also, even if you get past the Suns, you got the Denver Nuggets, who, you know, are the number 1 team in the West and have Joker and Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. So it's definitely the tougher road to the Western Conference Finals.
Do you have confidence in your team or nah, bro?
Okay, so
don't dance around the question. Come on.
Do you have confidence in the Clippers or not, dog?
From a completely analyst point of view, I would probably say based off the way things have gone this season for the Clippers, I would say Suns in 6. But the fan in me, look, whenever the Clippers are doubted for whatever reason, that's when they play their best. You know, they've been doubted in a lot of series in the past. They were doubted against the Dallas Mavericks, both series in the bubble and then in the series the following season. And they won in both those series. They were doubted against Utah when Utah was the number 1 seed. They won that series. So I just think whenever they have low expectations, they tend to like do really well. And whenever they have high expectations and everyone's picking them, they shit the bed. So I don't know what it is. But no, I mean, from an analyst point of view, I would probably pick the Suns in 6. We're not sure what's going to happen with Paul George. Yeah, I mean, we want to.
Oh, it's an injury every. See, it's an injury.
But see, at the same time, D, like your favorite player, Kevin Durant, gets hurt in the layup line. So it's kind of like, bro, like, come on, man.
You're really really though, like, come on.
But it's true. But it's
that
true.
Was a good one, Steph. That was a good one.
But it's true because he hates on PG and Kawhi, calling them injury prone. You hate on AD, but KD's damn near the same thing. And guess what, D? Guess who played more games this season? Kawhi played more games again.
He did.
I for like the second year in a row. Come on, man! Like,
congratulations for being an actual NBA player and playing games. I'm sorry that
I'm just saying, bro. All the criticisms you have against Kawhi, you should really point also at KD. I'm just saying, keep it fair. I agree with you on a lot of those criticisms. I don't want him to load manage, but obviously he's coming off a torn ACL, and the Clipper doctors, and Kawhi didn't want to play him back to back. So. And look, another thing is also scheduling. Kawhi didn't play a single back-to-back. Guess who had the most back-to-backs this season for the second year in a row?
You guys?
The Clippers. Yes, the Clippers.
Okay, interesting.
Guess who had the least back-to-backs for like the third year in a row? The Lakers. Dude, if you look at the playoff schedule, we have a game every other fucking day through the first 4 games. Where literally every other series in the NBA has at least 2 days off between one of the games through 1 and 4. The Lakers, bro, if you look at Saturday's schedule, the Clippers play their game 4 at home at 12:30 p.m. on Saturday, the 21st, I think, or the 22nd. And the Lakers play their game 3 at 7 p.m. that same night. The Clippers would have played 4 full playoff games before the Lakers even tip off their game 3. The Kings and the Warriors, who are literally like an hour away from each other by plane, it's probably like 20 minutes. They have the most amount of rest days in their series. Like, I'm telling you, this vendetta the NBA has against the Clippers is just ridiculous because the scheduling has always worked against us. It's always worked against us.
But Stefan, didn't we play you guys in the regular season off of back-to-back?
So yeah, bro, one back-to-back. You know how many times we played the Lakers off our own back-to-backs, but we never make excuses? Like, yeah, we had 3 days off, but we had so many days off in, like, the end of the season because we had the most – we played the most games out of the entire NBA prior to the All-Star break. Like, we played the most games out of everyone prior to the All-Star, where everyone else had 2-3 days off all the time. We were playing back-to-backs multiple times in January, December, and February. And that's why Kawhi missed a lot of these games. It's because he didn't play a single back-to-back until, I think, the final back-to-back of the season, which was the last 2 games. Yeah, so, that's I don't know, man. Scheduling's always worked against us. It's a narrative that nobody wants to talk about, but I'm going to fucking talk about it. Because Adam Silver loves the Warriors and loves the Lakers and gives them all this time off in their playoff series, and we have to play every other fucking night. It's crazy.
No, you should bring that up, and I'm not gonna fault you for that. But it's just the Clippers, man. The Clippers don't know how to fucking, like everybody says, the Clippers will clip. It's just like they
give us every reason to clip, man. They give us no advantage.
Like I said, the Clippers clip. They have bad luck, but sometimes they bring on their own bad luck, like signing Kawhi, who was, in my opinion, injury prone. I wouldn't
going to sign Kawhi after that season.
You know what? You are right, because after that season, he went to Toronto. I get it. He had all the leverage. Okay, cool. But then to mortgage the future on fucking Paul George, like, that's a Clipper move, bro. I get it. You didn't want to do it. You wanted to hold on to it, whatever. But still, you guys did it, which everyone knew for Paul George. Not everybody, but basketball heads knew that Paul George was not it. Anyway, what we didn't talk about, what I always wanted to talk to you about, is the fucking Westbrook trade. Tell me what were your feelings when it happened, and tell me your feelings going into this playoff series with Westbrook. Are you trustworthy?
I want to go next on this. I will let Steph go first, but I have a lot to say on the Westbrook trade.
All right, bet. Steph, red carpet. This is the first time I'm hearing you talk about the Westbrook trade and your whatever. Just let me go.
Well, I messaged you and Santiago in our Instagram group chat because I felt like the Clippers panicked at the trade deadline. Like, I'm a huge fan of Luke Kennard. I'm a huge fan. Like, for whatever reason, Ty Lue wasn't playing him. He wasn't in the rotations for whatever reason. Apparently, it was an issue because every time we gave him the ball, he wouldn't shoot. And Ty Lue was like, yo, fucking shoot. That's what we're paying you to do. And he would just, like, pass it. So they traded him for Eric Gordon, and Eric Gordon's another old, slow player who, yeah, he can get hot and shoot it really well, but he's just like Norman Powell. They're basically the same player. So I don't know why you trade Luke Kennard, who's balling on the Grizzlies right now, and who had, I think, the highest three-point percentage again this season in the NBA. I thought that was a very panicked move. And then, I mean, John Wall didn't work out, so whatever. They got rid of him, and we got Bones Highland, who I like, and then we got Mason Plumlee, who we needed a backup big to back up Zoo. As far as Westbrook, man, I don't know, man. There's something about that guy that just has bad luck. He did not do well in his first 5-6 games with us. He blew a game against the Kings where he turned over the ball. Lately, he's been doing better, especially since PG has been out. He's kind of stepped up and kind of has sort of returned to old form Russ. But going into the playoffs, I'm excited to see, because honestly, this is Russell Westbrook's last chance to really get a shot at the title. I don't know what happens to him after this season. I think if we lose in the first round, I don't think we're bringing him back. I don't know who's going to sign him. I don't know what contender will have use for him. So I think this is his last shot, and we'll see what he does.
Are you leaning more towards like trusting Westbrook coming up in these playoffs, or are you leaning more towards like,
I don't think we have a choice. Kawhi can't beat the Suns by himself. He's going to need another prolific scorer, and that's going to have to come from Westbrook. So either him or Norman Powell, but Norman Powell's so like inconsistent. Like, he'll have great games, but then he'll have terrible games, and he's a liability on defense. Or I like Westbrook a little bit more on defense than I do Norman Powell.
Man, it's just like, you see your roster is like, okay, Kawhi, cool, and then Bones Highland coming off the bench. Paul George, cool. And then you got Norman Powell, who's inconsistent. It's like a highlight, a low light, highlight, low light. And then another thing is, I've been wanting to ask you this. Zubac, like the Mason Plumlee pickup, I think that was a great backup big pickup. Yeah, I like Mason Plumlee. He's athletic, he's agile, he gets up and down the floor. I've always loved him as a player. Fucking Zoo, man. Like, I don't know with this guy, bro. Like, I get it. He puts everybody in the rim. He just dunks everything. I love that from a big. But like, I don't know, man. It's just like I don't feel it. I think you need something a little more solid in that position.
I have a love-hate relationship with Zoo, but this year I really grown to love him a lot. He's a great rebounder. He is a good rim protector. He's not elite, but I think he'd be a starter on any other NBA team. I would confidently say he's a top 10 center in the league right now. I like him. I think, he has bad games, but really his bad games is when he's just fatigued, because Zoo doesn't load manage. He plays every game. He's like one of the only Clippers that suits up every night. Even through injury, he'll suit up through injury. He was dealing with a quad earlier this year and he played through it. So I think now with Mason Plumlee, he'll have less of those bad games because he won't be as fatigued. We would literally play him sometimes the entire second half, because our backup big was, I forgot his name, but he was Moses Brown. He was all right, but he wasn't really that good. And then when you had a lineup of Nick Batum, Marcus Morris, Kawhi, PG, and like Terrence Mann, it just wouldn't work, because Morris has been awful since January. Morris has been terrible. He's been a liability on defense, been horrible at shooting. It's just not the Morris that has been like clutch for us in the past couple seasons. So he's been terrible. And this is another thing. Ty Lue also should be put on the hot seat, because he had this amazing roster that was supposed to have all this depth. And it's like he still hasn't figured out the rotations. And he was so stubborn about leaving Morris as a starter until he finally removed him in like late March and replaced him with Nick Batum. It took him 3 whole months of bad data from Marcus Morris for Ty Lue to finally be like, all right, we'll make the switch. Like, it was just, Ty Lue's been very suspect this season. I don't know. Apparently, like, you sent me that video. He lost all these family members in like a period of a couple weeks or a month. Like, I don't know, man. He's just his rotations have been really bad. And I just think he plays a lot of the older players, and the older players can't keep up with the young teams like the Kings. And we would have bad losses against the Pelicans and the Timberwolves and all these young teams, because the old guys would get off to such a bad start because they didn't come with that pace, where you should have been having like Terrence Mann, Bones Highland, Amir Coffey, or Luke Kennard, who can kind of bring that pace up. And then, I don't know, bringing the old guys. He honestly reminds me a lot of Doc Rivers, bro. I'm like, what the fuck happened? Like, when did we get Doc Rivers 2.0? So,
I mean, he was Doc's assistant forever.
Yeah, he learned from Doc, so he's going to be a similar coach.
Yeah. Like I said, when Clippers are doubted, we can do great things. So don't be surprised if we beat the Suns.
Okay, so as I look at this series against the Suns, obviously from a Clipper standpoint, the best thing you can do, honestly, is to make this series as disgusting to watch as possible. If you make this series into who essentially has the less worse of the entire night, then you actually do have a chance. And what that really preys upon, though, from a matchup standpoint, the Phoenix Suns, since they acquired Kevin Durant, their lineup of Paul, Booker, Durant, Josh Okogie, and DeAndre Ayton has murdered the entire league. During that time, they've been the number 2 offense and the number 1 defense when all those guys have been on the court at the same time. And one of the reasons why is because they really have not played any teams that have had professional shooters all over the floor. If you do get a series where Russell Westbrook essentially catches a heater and he is putting pressure on the rim every single time down the floor, the Clippers roster, one of the reasons why Russ works much better for them than he does for the Lakers is because Russ has been at his best in his career when he's been surrounded by professional shooters and play finishers versus the Lakers, where you don't really have much shooting and they essentially relied on just being bulldozers and bigger and stronger. The Suns are a team that is susceptible to essentially being bullied on the inside. And one of the reasons why the Clippers are kind of dangerous is because they have guys who can shoot the ball as well as attack closeouts and finish at the rim. So if you do get a series where essentially Zubac outplays DeAndre Ayton, you're going to get a series where the Clippers can damage the glass, and you can also essentially, you're still looking at an uphill battle most likely, but outside of the guys that start for the Phoenix Suns, I'm not sure they really have anybody else on that roster who would essentially get any minutes for the Clippers, for example. And over the course of a 7-game series, you can find ways to slow down either Durant or Booker, and then you just kind of hope that they don't both kill you on the same night. You're not going to get a bad shooting night from both of them in the same game. It's just not going to happen. But one of the reasons why the Suns are kind of susceptible is because they don't have any bench. They're susceptible to getting beat on the backside, and they're entirely reliant on mid-range pull-ups. They shoot the most mid-range pull-up twos in the entire league, and they shoot the fewest amount of free throws. So on any given night, if you do have a Ty Lue coaching masterpiece, you can switch everything. You can get multiple defenders and closeouts on every side. You can make Durant see a ton of different bodies. And in theory, I think this could be a Robert Covington and Terrence Mann kind of series where you see them a little bit more. If the Clippers are going to lean into, we need Kawhi to score 40 every game until Paul George hopefully returns midway through the series, and you essentially get a Russell Westbrook getting DeAndre Ayton into foul trouble kind of a series, Ivica Zubac also damaging him on the backside, that would be the way that I could see this happening. Because, look, when the Suns have had their starters on the floor, they've killed everybody, but they have really struggled when you don't have Durant, Booker, or Paul. When it's only been 2 out of the 3 of them with this current roster, they've actually struggled. So if you can get any night when DeAndre Ayton gets into foul trouble and you're able to prey upon a colder shooting night from one out of Durant or Booker, you can hang with them because they don't get to the free throw line and they shoot some of the most difficult shots in the league over and over and over again. I think that's something that could potentially work to the Clippers' advantage, but I'm not going to pick them, especially without Paul George for the entire series. It kind of bums me out because in theory, this series should be a really fun matchup if Paul George were fully healthy, because
if Paul George was healthy, if Kawhi was healthy,
I get the caveats. Obviously.
And KD might not make it through the series, bro, the way he's getting hurt.
KD's injuries are fluke injuries, bro. Fluke.
Yeah, the layup line is super fluky, bro.
That's a fluke.
Bro,
it was a wet spot, bro.
The OKC player kind of got under Paul George when he was landing, man. That's a fluky injury, too. That's not on him.
No, I understand that. No, I understand that. I'm just saying that KD's injuries, literally someone's rolling into him or a wet spot on the floor where he rolled his ankle. Correct. This past injury with Paul George, yeah, he just landed funny. But it's just like, it's Paul George, and he plays for the Clippers. It's like, of course it would happen. And I'm not blaming it, but it's just like, you can't not see it. But anyway, Micah, sorry, go ahead.
All I'm saying, I'm loving that all the analysts and everyone's picking against the Clippers. I'm telling you, they play their best, and Ty Lue coaches his best when nobody picks them. I agree with you with Rocco. I think Rocco could be a huge contributor to the series, but Ty Lue doesn't fucking play him. Like,
what do you
he
play
barely plays him, and it's so frustrating.
The playoffs are a different animal, and the playoffs.
I hope so.
They are a different animal. This I know. I also know that Ty Lue is no stranger to benching a guy for an entire series because they just don't fit the mold of what we need to do to try and stop the other team as well as attack on the other end. If the Clippers are going to win one of the first two before Paul George is hopefully able to return when they come back home for game 3, it'll be because Kawhi caught fire and the Suns. I would assume that the Suns probably keep as much of the load off of Kevin Durant as they can because he's still kind of coming back from an injury, and they'll put Josh Okogie on Kawhi Leonard. But I would assume that the Clippers also do kind of the same thing on the other end, which is if Josh Okogie shoots 10 threes, we'll live with it. If he makes 5 of them, then we're not going to have a chance to win anyway. But we will just dare him to shoot every time that he catches the ball. And he knows that he has to take those shots because teams are kind of known for in the playoffs, which is defending 4 out of 5 guys. If you ever have a guy that's on the floor that's not a big, that can't shoot, that guy's going to be dared to shoot it. The playoffs are not about your weaknesses. The playoffs are whether about, are your strengths strong enough to overcome your weaknesses, which the Suns are a team that have really, really strong habits with their starting lineup, but they don't really have anybody else outside of that. And if you can bully them, you can really bully them because they are undersized and they're foul happy, and they also don't shoot free throws on the other end. So
what's the projection return for Paul George? Steph, do you know?
Well, he's shooting shots in the gym since yesterday. Every day he's been shooting shots. His injury occurred 3 weeks from this Tuesday. So by the time we play game 2, that would be 4 weeks. I think honestly he'll be back maybe by game 4.
So
that's what I just think.
Game 3 or 4 is the hope, and the hope obviously is that the Clippers stole one of the first 2 in Phoenix.
So
I think they will. I'm almost sure the Clippers are going to steal one in Phoenix.
The expectation is that we will see him in this series.
Yep. Yes.
Because I thought it was going to be at least minimum. But then we'll see him in round 2.
But the thing is like, what do you do if like the Clippers are tied? Like by the time he comes back, it's a tied series 2-2, and whatever rotations they have going are really good, and you just insert Paul George, who hasn't played in 4 weeks, and now has to like go up against Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. Like, I don't know. Like, I would limit his minutes because sometimes Paul George could be really good, but he can also be a fucking liability. And Ty Lue will let him play out the 4th quarter. But I think Micah is right where like the playoffs are a different animal. And I've seen Ty Lue make adjustments in the past against the Mavericks in their series, against Utah, even against Phoenix in Western Conference. Like, he makes adjustments in the playoffs. It's just like when you see throughout the season, when we have must-win games for seeding or whatever, and he doesn't make adjustments, you're just like, all right, well, what's going on here? Like, so I'm hoping he does. So if he lets Paul George get in for like 5 minutes and he goes for 0 for 8 right away, all right, let's take him out. Let's put in back Terrence Mann or Bones Highland, whoever was getting us scoring prior to his return. So we'll see. I think Paul George, if he does come back and we can get past the Suns, I think he'll probably make more of a contribution against the Suns. I mean, against the Nuggets. But it's a big hurdle.
Yeah,
but KD's that guy. But I've seen Booker choke in the playoffs, and I've seen Chris Paul choke in the playoffs. So
facts. But now the
other thing with
they have 3 of them together.
The Suns are essentially a rolled ankle away from Chris Paul, which seems to happen almost every postseason, from really sinking the ship. Because outside of Chris Paul, Cam Payne is essentially their only other point guard, and he hasn't really played much this season. He's not a good shooter.
You can say the same thing about the Clippers, though, and I'll go because if you can say the same thing about the Clippers as far as like if Kawhi is one torn ACL away, even though it's a huge injury, sorry.
Yeah,
but like if Kawhi goes out, who are they going to depend on?
Not much of a chance. The same thing can be said about the Bucks.
But this is what I'm saying. If Kawhi goes out with an injury, right, then you're going to be depending on who? Okay, Westbrook, but Westbrook is very unreliable in the playoffs. But then if you look at Westbrook and the rest of the team, you have Nick Batum, you have Terrence Mann, you have Mason Plumlee, you have all these players. I still wouldn't pick the Clippers, because it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And look, like I said, I'll go. So Phoenix versus Clippers, 4-5. I'm not gonna lie. The way you guys have been talking has been getting me think to pick the Clippers, but again, like I literally just said, the Clippers is just it doesn't work, man. Like they do everything they can to be a legitimate organization, and then something always happens, injuries or I don't know, man. So I got Phoenix in 6, and I know the fucking Suns, man. They don't have a bench, bro. But fucking KD, like Steph said, is that dude, and I know he doesn't like him, but KD is fucking.
It's not that I don't like KD.
Oh my bad.
I just think it's unfair for you to criticize Kawhi when like KD should receive the same criticisms. I have no issue with KD. I think KD, I don't like him for him leaving and going to the Warriors, leaving OKC and going to the Warriors. And I also don't like that. I don't think he's a bus driver. I mean, even on this team, he needs like Devin Book, who's an all-star and a prolific scorer, and Chris Paul, who's a Hall of Famer. You know,
Chris Paul's old, bro. Like, yeah, he's
and I look.
It's a big 3, but it's like 2.5.
If the Suns can make a
run, Michael, hold on, Michael, hold on, Michael, hold on. Steph,
I'm probably Micah and I are probably about to say the same thing. If KD can will this Suns teams to a championship, he's a bus driver. I won't say anything else because to me, willing this Suns team who's susceptible to choking to past a good Clippers team, past a good Denver team, past whoever comes out on the other side of the bracket, whether that's Memphis, Lakers, or the Warriors, and then a Giannis or a Celtics or whoever. Bro, KD, you're legitimate to me. Everything else you did at Golden State and going to Brooklyn and looking like a dumbass, like, cool, you did it. But I don't think he's going to do it. Even though everyone's picking him, every analyst is picking the Suns right now because everyone just has that faith in KD.
Yeah, I'm a little iffy, yo. I don't even want to pick the Suns because, again, even if KD comes back, great. Like, he came back already and he played, I don't know, about a week's worth of games.
11 games.
Yeah, 11 games. Okay, so two weeks, and then you're going into the playoffs. Like, you need cohesion, you need chemistry, and it's the fucking playoffs. And then, like, I don't know, man, Josh Okogie in the starting 5. Like, what the fuck?
And an addition this late has never worked for a team.
But it's KD, bro. But it's like KD, man. I hate to say it, man, but it's true. He's one of the most seamless superstars that I've ever seen, bro. You plug him in, and it's like, yeah, it fits. He makes everything fit around him. And then those first couple games with the Suns, it's like, holy shit, this is just gonna work. But then he went down with the injury, and then we saw him come back a week and a half ago. So I get what you're saying, and I literally said it, so I do get it. But like, even picking the Suns in this series, I'm a little iffy about that because the bench. And the bench chemistry, and there's something else that we haven't really talked about. I think Steph mentioned it. I'm not sure, but fucking DeAndre Ayton, man, like number 1 pick.
Zoo could outplay him, and I would not be surprised.
That's the problem. That's the problem. That's the problem. How are you gonna let Zubac outplay you, bro? And okay,
Zubac's good, bro.
Just Dario.
Top 10 center in this league. I'm telling you.
Dario, real quick.
Yeah, Seahawk, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, let me just get my prediction out the way.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm a ride with Steph's team, the Clippers, man, and I got the Clippers in 7, man. I got Clippers in 7.
The fan in me has
Clippers in 7. And just because like Zubac, I always tell Stefan, man, because Zubac was an old Laker, man, when he was young, and I wish we would have kept him and developed him. But man, dude grabs boards and
he's a dog.
double. He's a double machine, you know, and easily, you know. And I've seen him whoop on us plenty of times, you know, and I think the young guys like Terrence Mann, they're gonna step up, you know, night in, night out in this series. Norman Powell, you know, from UCLA, I think he's gonna step up. Bones Highland's gonna have his moment. They all have to, but I feel like they have a deeper bench, and you know, Russell Westbrook's gonna be, you know, the pressure's gonna be on him, and I think he's gonna shine. Hopefully, you know, but I think he knows he's gonna have to put the team a little bit on his back. So I don't think.
Yeah, but that wasn't the point of getting Westbrook, bro. That was not the point of getting Westbrook, and this is exactly what it is now. He has to be the second best player. If Westbrook was and the reason why I'm talking like this so adamantly is because he wants that now. Of course, this is the fucking Clippers. Of course, it would happen to the Clippers.
But he would want this. I felt like LeBron was wanting too much out of. I felt like LeBron was a pressure for Russell Westbrook to be successful, whereas like Kawhi is a little bit more laid back. You know, he could actually take over a game. You know,
it's not that Westbrook is running away from the pressure. It's never that. The Westbrook is going to step into it lovingly, like he's going to do it willingly.
No,
but the thing is that he can't do it.
I just think Westbrook doesn't play well as a third best player in the team. Like, I think he plays better when he knows he has to be that guy. I think that Lakers trade, because of all the assets the Lakers gave up, a lot of the Laker fans didn't want Westbrook. So he already came into a hostile environment with the fans. And of course, Lakers are the biggest franchise in the NBA. They get a lot of media attention. LeBron was talking all this shit before the season started. Like, oh, we're going to win a champion. Keep that same energy. When everyone knew it wasn't going to work. And it didn't work. And it fucking smacked them in the face. Like, they looked really bad. And so I think Westbrook coming to the Clippers, the Clipper fans have really embraced him. They've been nothing but supportive and loving for him, even though he's had his ups and downs since the All-Star break. Overall, we support him, and I hope Russell Westbrook does well because I think everyone can agree that we love Russell Westbrook's dog. Like, no matter how his personality is with the media and how dismissive he can be, everyone loves that dog, Westbrook. Everyone supports that, and everyone wants to see that version of Westbrook. And I think this playoffs is really his last opportunity to do so. It's going up against KD, his old teammate, and nobody's picking us. Everyone's dismissing this series. It's getting the least amount of media attention because everyone thinks this is going to be a cakewalk for the Suns. So
definitely not. But yo, that's what gets Westbrook into problems. His dogness, bro. His fucking stubbornness, bro. And now that he's slotted as the second best player because Paul George is out, now his head is going to get even bigger. And you take what Westbrook gives you, which is, yes, a lot of intensity, always going to be there, always going to ride for his teammates, but you're also going to take stupid ass basketball IQ plays, bro. Turnovers.
But you know who's going to stop that? Ty Lue, because Westbrook did that against the Lakers in the most recent game. First quarter, goes off, shooting threes, making layups, driving to the hoop. Second quarter, plays like shit. Second half, Ty Lue sat him most of the second half, and he had Bones Highland, and Bones Highland went off. So if Russell Westbrook starts making stupid turnovers, taking bad shots, I think Ty Lue is going to be the one to be like, all right, Russ, thank you for the 10, 15 points you gave us in the first half. Now chill, Bones, Eric Gordon, take over. Or be vice versa. He has a terrible first half, and then maybe in the second half he gets a little run and gets hot. It's really going to be on Ty Lue to navigate that.
We'll see. This is going to be obviously Ty Lue's first time coaching Westbrook, so we'll see how he uses him. All right. I mean, everyone gave their take about the series. Now let's move on to the East Coast. We're gonna go 4-5 seed. We're gonna go Cleveland Cavaliers. Let's go.
Who do you got? Hold
on. Yeah. Of course, I'm gonna go first.
You're the Knicks fan, so
I'm not a Knicks fan. I'm not a Knicks fan.
Man, you're a Julius Randle fan now.
He's a big Knicks fan.
No, man.
He's post basketball fan.
Exactly. Listen, man. Yo, the Knicks have sucked forever, bro. The last good season we had prior to the fucking 2 seasons ago.
You notice how he said we?
Did I? Oh, fuck.
Just said we.
Listen,
you
man.
Just said we, bro.
Yeah.
Fuck.
It's
Okay, you're right.
Bro, it's high.
Nah, man. The Knicks, they just sucked forever, and they broke my heart as a kid, and I can't be a bandwagon fan, so I gave that up, bro. But I love to see them do well. I love to see them succeed. And when the Knicks are in the playoffs, the NBA is better, especially the Lakers, the Knicks. When those two are in the playoffs, then the NBA is better. The energy is just better, bro. I don't know. You can feel it.
In New York,
dog.
Maybe.
And Madison.
The Knicks have never been good in my entire life. And
That's a fact. That's a fact. That's a fact. And that's why the people in New York, not we, but the people in New York are very excited. Anyway,
Y'all
man.
feel about Josh Hart, man, the ex-Laker going to the Knicks, man. I like that pickup. Him and his old teammate.
I've always liked Josh Hart. Josh Hart is one of those, he's like Mr. the garbage man. Like, he does everything that the garbage man does. He just picks up rebounds, loose balls, he hustles, and every team needs that. But he also has skill. He could also put the ball on the floor. He could also attack the rim. And he has a good basketball IQ ever since
high IQ. Villanova, right?
Exactly. He played with Brunson and Villanova. Yeah, so that's a nice little tag team right there. But yeah, I do like that pickup. But as far as the pick, I'm riding for the New York Knicks in 7, baby.
The Knickerbockers.
Let's go.
Someone who's not a fan, you're super excited about it.
Yeah. You want to know why? Because the last time the Knicks got past the first round was 2012, 2013, when they ran up against Indiana Pacers and they lost to fucking Hibbert.
Paul George.
Yeah, whatever.
Hey, don't hate on those Pacer teams. The
Pacer teams are fun.
PG was a fucking beast
in my life.
Freak injury.
Yeah,
he was. No, I love those Pacers teams. And then he had the freak injury, and that halted his momentum a little bit. Even though I still think Paul George would have had the same career as he had right now. That's a story for another day. But yeah, the Knicks in 7, man. But it depends. Yo, this Julius Randle ankle situation is getting me a little nervous. Of course, it would happen with the last 2 weeks of the season. Wow. But I think he's supposed to be playing in game 1. So Hopefully that's good. But then, of course, your first real game is your first playoff. Like that, he's not going to be himself. You got to wait a couple games.
He needs 30 though. He needs 30 first
30
game.
points?
He needs to go for at least 25, 30 for them to win.
Probably, yeah. Because other than other than Julius Randle, like Jalen Brunson could put up points on the board. But what I'm looking for Jalen Brunson, I'm just looking for Jalen Brunson to be that leader that the Knicks have always fucking needed. And Jalen Brunson has finally provided that. We have seen that all regular season, but now the lights are on. He has experience in the playoffs. He knows, like, when Luka went out last year, when they were playing Utah, everything fell on Brunson's shoulders. He dropped like a 40-piece chicken nugget on them. And now with the Knicks, like this whole season, it's been on Brunson's back, and he's been accepting of the pressure. And now with the playoffs, he knows the pressure is going to be even more. But I really think he's going to come through in the clutch. And yeah, man, I mean, Cleveland, like they have a really good talented team. But Darius Garland, this is his first time in the playoffs. Evan Mobley's first time in the playoffs. I mean, Jarrett Allen has been in the playoffs. They're a solid team, bro, and I like them. But Donovan Mitchell, man, like he's an all-star, but he's not a superstar. There's something missing with him to take him to that next level, and I don't think he's going to be able to achieve it. And the Knicks are going to win the series by just grit and grind. They're going to make it dirty. And yeah, man. So I got Knicks in 7. So.
Man, Cavaliers are low key. Like, if I had to pick a dark horse in the Eastern Conference to win, I would give it to the Cavaliers, man. I like Spida. I like Donovan Mitchell. I like Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen. Like, I think they got some good pieces. Karis LeVert, I think I'm gonna pick the Cavs. Who has home field or who has home court advantage?
Cavs.
Cavs, yeah.
I can see them winning in Madison Square Garden. So I'll say Cavs in 6. And I just think Spida Mitchell, he's in another good situation. I think he can lead them past the Knicks. The Knicks have been good. I've seen a couple other games, definitely both games against the Clippers, and I've seen a couple others when they're on national TV. Jalen Brunson is that dude. Like, he should get more respect, and I think he's a great player. I just think Knicks, just like the Clippers, just have some bad juju that they can't seem to shake off, and Julius Randle, not a big.
What examples do you have? They haven't even had examples.
The fact that they've been shit for like the past 30 years, like.
Yeah, but we haven't even gone to the playoffs to see if we're like.
They're like the Dallas Cowboys. They just let you down. You have high hopes for them every season. They have a very devoted fan base, one of the largest in the league, but they let you down every year. So I do like Josh Hart though, and Julius Randle. I've never seen him be big in big moments. I haven't seen a lot of his games, but a lot of times in big moments, he's just not big.
Yeah, he needs to redeem himself from that Atlanta series, and also RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett is also gonna have to come through. And
what is he? Is he a good player? I mean, every time I watch the Knicks, it feels like he's a non-factor, and he's supposed to be like, wasn't he a lottery pick?
He's number 3, bro.
From Duke, right?
Yeah.
Third fucking pick.
I don't know.
It's a love-hate. Dog, it's a love-hate relationship between the Knicks fans and RJ Barrett because like he has a lot of things going against him. Number 3 pick behind Zion and John Morant, and then it's RJ Barrett. It's like, okay, like you're supposed to be within the same class, but I don't know, man. There's something missing with him. But he's very inconsistent as well. Like he has some 30-point games, and then he has some games where he's
I've
just
never seen a 30-point game from RJ Barrett. But
he's had 30-point games during the regular season. But then he plays like dog shit sometimes, man. And then he only fucking goes left. Like he goes right a little bit more than Julius Randle, which I appreciate. But like, goddamn, bro. Like everybody knows you're fucking scouting report. You're a lefty. Work on your right hand. You're a professional basketball player. So, Steph, do you have anything else you want to say about that?
No, that's it. I got Cavs in 6.
Actually, what? Hold on. C-Hall. Go ahead, my boy.
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna take. This one's a tough one because they're both physical teams. They both play good defense. But you know what? I think I'm gonna go with Spit at Mitchell, man. I'm gonna go with Donovan, man. I think they got enough length in the inside to guard the paint, and then Garland could step up a little bit more.
Garland's tough.
He's a good young player. And then they got a couple bench guys in there too. So I'm gonna take them. It's gonna be a good series.
How many games you got?
I'm gonna take them in 6, like with Stefan. 6.
Okay.
6 from the Cavs.
It sounds like consensus to me. I also have the Cavs.
Fuck you guys.
I'm
yeah,
sorry,
you're not a
sorry.
fan, right?
Well, let me at least give you the rationale.
My bad.
Okay, so the Cavaliers finished with the number 1 defense in the NBA this season. They also force teams into the lowest shot quality in the entire league. The New York Knicks are a team that has Julius Randle on it. Julius Randle, among players who are top 30 to 40-ish, might take the most dumbass award. This series could very well come down to him shooting you out of the series, which, by the way, he's a guy who has feasted on bottom 10 defenses and has been the exact opposite against top 10 defenses this year. I'm thinking about the length of Evan Mobley. I'm thinking about Jared Allen as a shot blocker. And unless you get a series where Josh Hart just locks down Donovan Mitchell when they're switching a lot, I would assume he probably starts there, and they'll put Brunson and try to hide him on Darius Garland as much as they can. I don't see the route for the Knicks quite as much, especially without home court. Look, I don't consider the Cavs to be any kind of a contender long term, because the Cleveland Cavaliers, among teams that are top 4 in either conference, are by far the worst clutch team. It's whatever close games, they seem to fold a lot. But I honestly don't think a lot of these games are going to be that close, just because their defense is going to allow them to essentially.
You think all the games are going to be like blowouts?
I don't really see this as kind of a close series as maybe a lot of people do. I think it'll go 6 games. And ultimately, I think we're going to get kind of a Donovan Mitchell masterpiece in the Garden, which I think would be kind of the biggest fuck you ever to all of the Knicks fans, as well as Stephen A. Smith, I guess, to close it out. But I expect Cleveland to win this series. I think they have less question marks. They have more answers. And just, again, I think I'm just having these Julius Randle, I guess, nightmares.
No, I get it, man.
Of him shooting you out of a series with dumbass shot attempts. And that's exactly what the Cavs have forced teams to do so much this season, which is take the worst shot quality.
No, 100%. I get it. Julius Randle, he's it's another love-hate relationship. But the thing is, the reason why I'm picking the Knicks is because Julius Randle, when he was playing against Atlanta and they lost in 5 games, Julius Randle was the man. He was the guy on the team. Now, he's not the guy on the team. Real basketball has Jalen Brunson is the guy on the Knicks team.
Oh, absolutely.
Exactly. So Randle doesn't have that pressure.
Take somebody serious if they would think that Julius Randle is the number 1 guy on the team.
Right. Jalen
Brunson's not going to will that team. Like, he can't be the only guy.
No, 100% not. 100% not. But what I'm saying, but Julius Randle also was not able to do it as himself. But now they both have each other. Julius Randle is going to be he still has pressure because he needs to redeem himself from that Atlanta series, but it's not as much pressure as it was going into that Atlanta series. He was the main focus of the defense. The Cleveland Cavaliers, they can't say that this time around. They can't just be like, Julius Randle is the main scorer. Let's lock him down. They can't do that because Jalen Brunson could put the ball on the floor. He could put the ball on the hoop. Julius Randle could put the ball on the hoop. RJ Barrett, whatever, he's inconsistent, but he's skilled.
Emmanuel Quickly, what about him? Because he has to be the X factor, right?
Quickly is one of the better up and coming point guards in the league, man. You got Tyrese Maxey, you got Quickly, and like I think he had 40 points against Boston in the overtime game, maybe about a month ago.
Yeah, I've seen that game.
He had a career high. That was
out of nowhere,
yo. Weirder games of Boston's entire season because they went cold at the exact wrong time, and it just became one of their, pretty much their only weakness, which is when they go cold. They go really cold because it just becomes a lot of contested step back threes. Jason Tatum takes the most contested threes in the entire league, and he doesn't shoot that good of a percentage on them. That's exactly what happened in that game.
Yeah, so we'll see, man. But I really do think the Knicks are going to pull it out this time. I think it's going to be Knicks in 7. All right, so we're going to move on from the 4-5 to the East, and now we're going to the bottom half of the West bracket. We're going to go 3-6. Very, very interesting series. We got the Sacramento Kings versus the Golden State Warriors. Micah, I'm interested to hear your take. Who you got in this series?
Oh, man. To me, this is the hardest series to pick. And I could probably flip a coin, but I guess for the sake of this conversation, just because I'm thinking this way for now, I think it's Warriors in 6, but I do expect Sacramento to take game 1. One of the reasons why a lot of people struggle, or a lot of teams struggle against Golden State in the playoffs is because it's almost as if you're playing a different language than the entire NBA. The entire NBA pretty much is high pick and roll with shooters around and a ton of floor spacing. Golden State is kind of the only team in the league that does a completely different offense from top to bottom than every other team. because they run a ton of split action. It's a ton of high DHO, and they get up and down. But then I also look at Sacramento. They finished as the number 1 offense in the history of basketball this year.
That's crazy.
But where this series turns is the maturity and just the ability to make fewer mistakes. If this series is just every game in the 120s, and both of these teams, by the way, finished top 5 in pace as well, this could be just an absolute fireworks of an offensive showcase. But at some point, though, this series will kind of slow down. And Sacramento has really only shown the ability to win high-scoring games this season. They finished first in offense, but they're also bottom 5 in defense. So they're bleeding points like crazy. They don't blow teams out. And I just think at some point, their lack of defensive principles is going to cost them, because they're going to botch a DHO and Curry's going to get a wide open 3, and just very simple X's and O's things that decide playoff series are going to cost them at some point.
I got this, like what Micah said, it's going to be a tough series, man. It's up there with one of the best ones, to start it off. But man, a key piece for the Warriors, man, if they do want to, finish it out in 6 or 7, is the Andrew Wiggins, man. They need to get him back. He's a good X factor piece, both ends of the floor.
That's crazy.
But it's going to be a high pace, scoring game, to start us off. I like De'Aaron Fox, man, but I got to go with my guy Curry, and the Splash Bros. I think they're going to, show why they could repeat, with that team from back a while back. They're going to have, Draymond, all them, that core group back. They just need to get Wiggins healthy, because that's going to be a focal point, if they want to move on, deeper in the playoffs. So I'm going to go Warriors and 6.
I'll go now. You said the word experience, and that is why I'm taking the Warriors in 7. So there's a lot of things going into the series. First and foremost, the Warriors away record this season has been absolute dog shit, which is completely
worst ever by a defending champion.
It's weird, exactly, because it's defending champion, and then we talk about the team itself. You got Steph Curry, you got Clay, you got Draymond. Like, they've been through the fucking war so many times, and you're gonna have the worst away record in NBA season from a defending champion. Like, that's fucking weird, man. But playoffs. The three-headed monster, they know what it's like. They've been down this road a lot of times, so they know the intensity and everything, how it ramps up. So I do think they're going to be fully prepared. But I still think their road woes are going to continue in the playoffs. For some fucking reason, they're just not going to be able to win on the road, which is why I think they're going to go 7.
But if they go 7, that means they would have won a road playoff game in Game 7 in the deciding one.
Game 7, they're going to win in Sacktown. Yeah.
Mike Brown, though, what do you guys feel about Mike Brown, the ex-Warriors coach? I think he's gonna have a little chippy too, Yeah. So.
Yeah, because he knows
some
a little bit
chip
of
on his
players,
shoulder. Yeah. I mean, he might have something deep in his bag to say, you know what? Look, as we were watching the film and preparing for this series, I was the one who taught the Warriors how to do this action. I know the kryptonite, how to slow it down, but the Kings have just been so bad with pretty much every defensive principle. I don't think that they're going to come out and just instantly become a top 10 defense like that.
No, but they're going to come out like gangbusters, bro. This is the first playoff series in how many years? 16 or some shit? Or I was going to call it Arco Arena. That's how old school I am.
Yeah.
It's going to be bumping. Oh, and before I move on, it's just De'Aaron Fox. I think this is the series I'm going to watch in the first round. I think it might be the only series. I think it's going to be the series that I'm going to watch super intently, because I've been wanting to watch De'Aaron Fox in the fucking playoffs forever. From the moment he got drafted, I've always been interested in seeing how his game would grow, and especially see him in the playoffs and how his game would change with the slowing down of the playoffs. And he's insane, bro. He's crazy athletic. And this season, as far as averages, he was like the best clutch player in the NBA, I think it was, or top 5 or top 3, I'm not sure. But yeah, man, and the teaming up of Sabonis, like they finally have a full season together, and I want to see it come together. And I'm very excited for that first round.
The Kings have been a great story this season. My college was about 20 minutes from like west of Sacramento, so I spent a lot of time in Sacramento in college. And that fan base is real. They have a lot of love for their fans. I mean, for their team. And Sacramento is a cool city. But yeah, I think the Warriors are just they're defending national champs. I think the Kings can be a very dangerous team, and I think it will go 7. I think the Warriors definitely split one of those first 2 games. I don't know if the road woes really. I don't know if they experienced it in this series because Sacramento was so close to San Francisco, and I think a lot of the Warriors fans are going to show up. So I don't think it's going to be as hostile an environment as opposed to like if the Warriors have to go to Memphis or to Staples or something like that. So I think it will, but I think it will be a close series. I think Sacramento, this is going to be like, because nobody's picking them. Like nobody's picking the Kings. They've been disrespected all season. Even after the All-Star break, I thought the Clippers were going to slide into that 3rd seed because I'm like, the Kings are bound to fall off. Like they're bound to fall off. And they didn't. They didn't fall off. So Kings have my respect. But I still think just because Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Andrew Wiggins, and Klay Thompson, I think in a game 7 crunch time, I think the Kings are going to tighten up a bit and the Warriors are going to take advantage. So I have the Warriors in 7.
All right, cool. So just to recap that series real quick, I had Warriors in 7. Steph, you had Warriors in 7. Micah, you had?
Warriors in 6. I think they'll get it done at home.
T-Hall, and you had who?
Yeah, Warriors in 6.
All right, so we all take Warriors. Okay. Bet. All right, so now we're gonna move on to the East Coast. Not really, not yet. The 3 seed versus the 6 seed. Philadelphia 76ers versus the Brooklyn Nets. Steph, you want to go first, my boy?
I got Philly in 5. Not much to say. Brooklyn, there's been a lot of drama around the team this year. It's great that they made the playoffs. I thought the Spencer Dinwiddie and Kyle Kuzma Twitter beef was pretty interesting recently.
That's funny.
It's like mid versus mid.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Brooklyn, they just like the Clippers. They took a big swing and it didn't land or it didn't hit. And I think it'll be a pretty quick series. I think if the Sixers are as real as they are and Joel Embiid is that MVP player, I think they get it done in 5.
Yo, Steph, I'm going to join you on this because I have the same exact result. I have Philly in 5. The only thing I will add is, yes, Joel is that dude. If they're going to have a successful playoff run, Joel's going to be amazing. But his fucking running mate, James, not showing in the spotlight, Harden, bro. And you also got Doc Rivers as the fucking coach. I don't think
what's the first round.
Exactly. I really don't think it's going to show up in this round because Brooklyn Nets, they got to the playoffs based off of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, obviously. So, and they played well enough to remain in the 6th spot going into the end of the season. I mean, Mikal Bridges, he's been coming onto the scene really hard lately.
Johnson.
Yeah, Cam Johnson, especially Spencer Dinwiddie, the return to Brooklyn. They're okay. They might get it. Yeah, they're, like we said, gentleman sweep. But James Harden, bro. If after the Clippers, for me, James Harden, you have the most pressure, dog. You better fucking show me something, bro, or your ass is gonna get fucking annihilated, dog. Anyway,
but do they need James Harden? I know we'll probably get into when the Sixers in the 2nd round I assume we're all picking Boston, and when they play Boston. So I mean, they got Tobias Harris. They need James Harden.
Tyrese Maxey.
They need James Harden. They need James Harden. They need James Harden to be just good.
Because James Harden is a stud now. When he's on, Dario, when he's on, he's the James Harden like he was in Houston. When he has them 30-point games, them 8-9 assist games, because he'll show up. I'm telling you, he will show up.
Give me examples. Give me examples that he has shown up.
What? Hey. I'm gonna just say it's playoffs now. Okay?
Hey, Chris loves the LA players. He represents for us, baby. Hey, we love the LA players. All right, James Harden's from LA, PG from LA, Russ from LA. Hey man,
we like that.
I guess LA boys don't know how to play in the playoffs, man. Because James Harden, what happened in that game?
Don't do that.
What happened to the game 7 against the Warriors?
Don't do that because Kawhi's an LA boy. He plays in the playoffs. Don't do that.
Okay, Kawhi from LA. What happened to 3-1 against Denver in the bubble? What happened?
Yeah, what happened to him willing a Toronto, an irrelevant Toronto franchise, into a championship and going through the gauntlet that was the East with your man Joel Embiid and your man Giannis Antetokounmpo. Come on, bro.
All right, whatever.
Don't disrespect LA boys.
Okay, respect. But going back to James Harden, so game 7 against the fucking Warriors when the team went 4 for 30 or some shit, 3 points. What happened with game 6 with San Antonio Spurs when it was the first time in Houston? No, we're on James.
No, we're on
Harden. James Harden. Oh, okay.
I'm mentioning, we're going back to those playoff shortcomings.
I'm mentioning exactly the playoffs that James Harden had many occasions as being the guy, like the fucking when the Clippers were up 3-1, and then the Houston Rockets were coming back with James Harden on the bench, and then that changed the whole series. Like, dog, he has a lot of sorry stuff, but he has a lot of examples.
Josh Smith, man.
He has a lot of fucking.
Oh yeah, Josh Smith, like, back in the day.
He has a lot of examples where he's not it. Being the guy and depending on him to move forward in the playoffs, trying to get your team to the finals, he's not it. Luckily, he's the number 2 on this team, but even with that, him being the number 2, you still need him to show up, and that's where I'm like, I don't know if he'll show up. There'll be some sort of excuse as to why he won't show up, an injury, or I don't know, some shit. I don't know, something, but we'll see. Micah, who you got in that series, yo?
I don't really have to go too much into it. I'm picking the Sixers. I think it'll go a little bit longer than you guys have. I have it going to 6. I think that the heavy switching defense of the Brooklyn Nets can cause problems for pretty much anybody besides Joel Embiid on the Philadelphia 76ers. I expect the Brooklyn Nets to spam double team him and try to get the ball out of his hands as soon as they possibly can. The Philadelphia 76ers on film are kind of an easy-ish team to figure out because you know pretty much what you're going to get. It's going to be an Embiid high pick and roll. Embiid will be posted up right at the nail on the free throw line. If you send timely doubles from the backside, you can get your hands in those passing lanes. Boston is a team that has murdered the Sixers in transition. The Sixers finished dead last in transition defense in the Eastern Conference. When they miss a shot, their defensive rating on the ensuing possession is also bottom 10 in the NBA this season. So the Brooklyn Nets, if they're able to switch everything on the outside, force essentially colder shooting nights from Tobias Harris, from James Harden, I expect Maxey to still be a problem because he can put his head down and get to the rim as well, even when shots aren't falling. But this might be a series where Joel averages 40, but he may have to because I still expect the Brooklyn Nets to pose serious matchup problems on the outside. But ultimately, I've only talked about the Brooklyn Nets defensive side of things. Offensively, Mikal Bridges, do we know if he's just a regular season nice story? Nice stories don't really translate to the playoffs very often. This will be the first time when he will be walking to the playoffs as the scouting guy that the Sixers have spent all week trying to figure out how to slow down. Does Jalen McDaniels get some more minutes on Mikal Bridges if he stays hot? But I just don't see enough offensive prowess from Brooklyn to really pose a problem. If Brooklyn were to have Kevin Durant still instead of Cam Johnson or Dorian Finney-Smith, and essentially they were just going to have a matchup nightmare wing problem from Durant and Bridges killing teams off the dribble, that would be a much different story. But you're not going to upset a team that has an MVP caliber player with Mikal Bridges, who is going to be fully reliant on pull-up jump shots to beat that team. Like, the Sixers get to the free throw line more than any team in the entire league, and Mikal Bridges is a pull-up jump shooter who still does not know really how to finish at the cup as well as a bigger wing should be able to. And
I feel like he's learning.
Also somebody who is not really the savvy Jimmy Butler type that can just get to the free throw line when shots aren't falling.
But I feel like he's learning. He's learning to do all that as being like the lead scorer on the team. Like this season,
I totally think Mikal Bridges could come out next season and be one of the 20 best players in the entire league.
Right.
If he adds to his offensive bag, finding ways to get to the free throw line, as well as being a better pick and roll ball handler in terms of playmaking for others.
Yeah.
You could have an entire like Kawhi Leonard level development from basically being just a system guy with the Suns essentially to then getting his own team and just taking off from there. But from this series, I'm picking the Sixers. It's just
Joel's especially against fucking Nick Claxton. Joel is gonna fucking eat, yo. Nick Claxton is a fucking.
Joel will probably shoot 15 free throws a game and drop 40.
Yeah. See, now just to piggyback off of Micah, man, Mikal Bridges, just watching him from college and his development, he was just pretty much a pure defender, with that could shoot, corner threes and from up top, but he's like Micah said, he's learning, and I feel he could be like a Kevin Durant or a Kawhi Leonard type, once he learns how to drive to the hoop and use his size and his length. Because he's already a great defender, but just overall from Brooklyn, I feel like they have a lot of young players, like Cam Johnson and like Dinwiddie and stuff. But I don't think they have enough, offensively and enough big bodies to hold down Embiid. I think probably Mikal Bridges will probably play pretty often on James Harden, if he has enough energy to use. But I'm gonna take Sixers in 6.
Sixers and
do you
6
guys think
Brooklyn.
this could be a Cam Thomas series at all, or do you think he's not going to make the playoff rotation just because he's too much of a liability on the defense?
I don't know why he fell out of the rotation. It was kind of odd. Bridges came to Brooklyn and surprised me. He was winning them games. I think Cam Thomas was already, putting up numbers when Bridges showed up. But Cam Thomas, I think I seen what I was telling Santi, Dario, was I feel like he has a Kobe type instinct in him, Kobe type mindset, as far as like, I'm gonna shoot the ball no matter how many times I, miss it. Because he had that whole week, remember, when he was putting up 30, 40. And I was like, man.
Yeah, that was like right after KD got traded.
Yeah, he was the first teenager since LeBron to have back-to-back 40-point games.
Yeah.
LeBron was the last guy to do that before Cam Thomas.
Yeah, so interesting series. We'll see. So everyone gave their picks on the Philly Brooklyn. Now we're going to move on to the last series of the first round of the Western Conference. And this is where C. Hall shines, baby. We're going to give him the red carpet. The second-seeded Memphis Grizzlies versus the seventh-seeded LA Lakers. And C. Hall, go ahead, bro. Red carpet is all yours.
This is another interesting series and one of my favorites, up there with the Kings and the Warriors series. I think it's going to be a real dogfight of the series. I think this could, I'm thinking 7. That's my pick, 7 or 6 for the Lakers. But it's going to be real tough, man. I don't think we have an answer for Ja. I think Desmond Bane kills us all the time, from the 3-point range. I was screaming at my TV screen the other day when we were playing against the Timberwolves, just because how poor our 3-point defense is and how lazily we play defense. So it all depends on how well we start game one and how we come out and play defense, because we could put up points. And our bench is going to have to step up. We need Reeves. We need all the young guys to step up night in and night out. I don't think, we know LeBron's going to go for his 25, 30. AD has to step up, play defense. We have to be on point to.
So wait, you got Lakers. You said 6 or 7. You got to pick one, my boy.
I'm gonna say 7. I'm gonna say 7. It's gonna be a long series.
I see that.
7.
All right. Steph, the Kryptonite. What you got, boy?
Man, honestly, before Tuesday night's game, and I think I mentioned this in a group chat.
Oh, yeah, you did, yeah.
I had the Lakers going to the Western Conference Finals. I'm like, defensively they look good. LeBron James, AD, D'Angelo Russell. I think they could make it work. Man, after that showing against the Timberwolves, I don't know, man. I think we're all just buying into the hype, and I just think Memphis, like, they got a lot of young players in that team who can just probably outwork and exhaust the Lakers. It's really gonna take like another heroic, like willing LeBron willing the team to victories every game, and I think it's gonna be very tough. And if it goes to 7 games too, I don't see the Lakers going into Memphis, hostile environment, and getting a win. I just don't see it, like, especially after that showing against Minnesota. That could be like, it's a playing game. Minnesota, everyone's fighting for their life, so it could be like, I don't know, it could just be a bad showing by the Lakers. But I've only seen the Lakers play like 3 times since the All-Star break. Once was against the Clippers, where the Clippers just obliterated y'all, and then I forgot the other game I saw. But
let me ask a question though, because the Timberwolves they're a tough outing, man. We seen them last year against the Grizzlies.
Yeah, but they didn't have 3 of their best players.
Nah, see Hall. Yeah, they didn't have a lot of their players, bro. It was
Come
a bad
on,
look.
man. Like that should have been a dominant game.
Dominant is a strong word,
but the Lakers always play down to their competition. We always play like that. It takes us to they're
gonna have to play
end of the first half
to Memphis. Like Memphis is a good team, and they're a cohesive group. And I'm telling you, Luke fucking Kennard he's a 3-point assassin. And then I don't know how he's played against the Lakers on the Grizzlies, but I remember whenever Luke Kennard played against the Lakers and he was on the Clippers, he would just murder y'all. Like he was just like fucking Reggie Miller out there.
Because we can't cover the three. We can't.
I want to go Grizzlies in 5. I really do. But I got so much respect for LeBron. I'm going to go Grizzlies in 7. I think in a Game 7 situation, hostile environment, I think Grizzlies will show out.
You counting the Lakers out? What? Like that?
Man, I had them going to the Western Conference Finals. I really did. I really did. I think because that side of the bracket is so favorable for the Lakers. The Grizzlies are going to be their toughest obstacle because I think with the Warriors – I don't know if Warriors are that legitimate this year based on their road record.
It's tricky, man. The West is tricky, yo.
We don't know what Andrew Wiggins.
That hypothetical, the Warriors would be the home team over the Lakers, so they would host games 1 and 7.
Right, yo. The West is so fucking tricky. Yo, C-Hall, let me ask you a question, bro. Just gut reaction. Try not to think. Gut reaction. Are the Lakers going to the finals?
No. I just and that was a quick no too because it was a quick no because that's just how I feel, man. I just don't. I watched maybe 10 Laker games all year, and I still have some thoughts on how we play defense, man. We're supposed to have a defensive head coach, but then we make the same mistakes. We play good on good runs, good 3-game stretches where we play good defense, and then the next 2 games we'll have horrible defensive games. So it starts from the defense with the Lakers, man. That's where it starts. So
Minnesota should have won that game. They lost that game.
They should have won
it. Minnesota lost that game.
We were getting dominated the whole game, man, up until the 4th quarter. So
we lost like 5 minutes. Yeah.
Micah, who you got in that series?
So when it comes to whether or not that was a good or bad showing from the Lakers, I think it was the accurate showing from the Lakers. The Lakers are going to be a team that just wins muddy because since the trade deadline, they've basically been that level of a defense that can flip a switch and then win every time in the half court. They were forcing Ant. Like Ant missed every shot, but Ant also was just scared to drive to the rim because that's exactly what the Lakers pose. So if that level of Vanderbilt shows up on Ja Morant, which I would assume that's probably the assignment he gets. Maybe he gets Desmond Bane. Who knows? It depends what they want to do with Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell. If they want to try to hide them. This series against the Grizzlies, this is going to be one of the muddiest series in the entire playoffs. Neither of these 2 teams are great offensively. Neither of them are great shooting. I expect this to be a spam Darvin Ham series of just Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, even LeBron going under every screen and forcing pull-up shooters like Jaren Jackson Jr. and Dylan Brooks to win off of the dribble. Both of them way below the league average in that category. And look, the playoffs are not about your weaknesses. The playoffs are about whether your strengths can overcome those weaknesses. The Memphis Grizzlies are going to be without Brandon Clark and Steven Adams, which is something I don't think anybody's brought up at this point. I expect this to be an Anthony Davis eating series. I expect this to be a Jaren Jackson Jr. in foul trouble series. And I expect this series to go 7 just because the Lakers have not really been able to play back-to-back really good games at all. But LeBron James has not been on the losing end of a game 7 since he was with the Cavaliers his first time and back in 2008. So I will take the Lakers in 7 just because I think they'll be able to just win 1, lose 1, win 1, lose 1, and be on the winning end of a 7-game series that is, I guess some people might think is really disgusting basketball, but just will be 2 teams who are undermanned shooting, but are also really good at switching and finding ways to cause really tough actions on the defensive end.
Yeah, man. This series has been. This one was honestly, I didn't even have an answer down, bro. I was waiting to hear what you guys would say.
Vegas has this as the hardest series in the entire first round.
There you go. Because look, you could go either. You could go either way. Look, you could go Anthony Davis is going to eat because Brandon Clark and Steven Adams, they're not going to play. Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. So that means that means Davis is going to go crazy in the paint. But then you could also say Davis might get hurt. You could also say LeBron is fucking 45 years old playing NBA. You could also say D'Angelo Russell is not reliable. You can also say Darvin Ham is a first-time coach. You can also, it's like, and that's that. And then you could also say, what the fuck is going on with this John Morant situation? Like, okay, he went to rehab for a weekend and now he's back. That's not going to affect the team. Like, what's going on there? We haven't heard anything. It's just, there's just a lot of like, everything is up in the air. Like, there's nothing solid I can gravitate towards and be like, okay, I can trust this. I cannot trust Anthony Davis. Not even a lick. Unfortunately, I can't trust LeBron, man. LeBron, since he's gotten to the Lakers, I don't think a lot of people have been saying this, but he's been injury prone. The very first season, he fucked up his groin, and I think from there has been this injury, that injury, like, and he's coming off of a foot tendon. He fucked up, and he's playing through it apparently. So he's not healthy. He's 37? I don't know how old he is.
38.
Yeah, he's 38, bro. Like, there are a lot of things going against this team, bro. And the same thing for Memphis. Like, I honestly don't know what team to pick, but obviously that's what we're here to do. I'm going with Memphis, man. I'm going with Memphis, and the only reason why is because Anthony Davis, I can't trust him, just like I can't trust fucking Kawhi. I just cannot trust Anthony Davis being healthy. I can't trust Anthony Davis being healthy. Great, yeah, you put up great numbers when you're playing, but when are you playing? And this is the first time since the bubble season that we've actually seen him play, more than 50 games? I don't know, 50, 55, 60?
In theory, this is maybe a bad matchup, I guess, for Anthony Davis because Jaren Jackson can pull you away from the rim.
And that was another thing I totally forgot. Their immaturity. Like, Memphis was just immature. Like, Steph, I remember last year you were saying how, like, they really turned you off because they were talking so much smack and they did absolutely nothing to deserve that. And you're right. Like, this year is even more. Dylan Brooks is already saying that he wanted LeBron because he wanted to tarnish his legacy. He wanted to do this and that. It's like, dude, you guys haven't done shit, bro. Like, and then that translates into the game with, like, decision making. You guys think you're better than you are, and you think you could take these shots over that shot. So I got Memphis in 6 though. But if LeBron and if the Lakers do win, like, I wouldn't be surprised because, like Micah said, they're gonna make it really dirty. They're gonna muddy it out, and then the experience is gonna come in with LeBron going to 20,000 finals, AD winning a championship. So there's that. All right, gentlemen, we're gonna move on to the very last series that we have left to talk about. We're going to move on to the number 2 seed Boston Celtics versus the number 7 seed Atlanta Hawks. Man, I had Boston in 5, yo. Atlanta's great. I don't know. Trae Young, I don't know what the fuck is going on with that situation. But what's going on? But the real question is, what's going on with Jaylen Brown's hand? Is anybody like, what the fuck?
I mean, I can speak to this. I covered
Micah, what up?
So prior to game 82, he spoke with the media and basically said that if he needed to play that day, he could. He's fine. So
was it a cut? What is it?
What's that?
Is it a cut? Was it a cut or what was it?
It was a cut. He had it stitched up. He was essentially out for a week, but by game 82, if he needed to play against Atlanta, he would have. It was not on his shooting hand, so there is that. In this series, I don't think it's going to matter. The Atlanta Hawks this season, the team that they had the worst point differential against in all the games that they played against specific teams, Boston was by far their worst. No other team in the Eastern Conference did they have a point differential of worse than 7, and they were a negative 14 per game against Boston. They just have their number. Boston is going to force DeJounte Murray to take 15 mid-range pull-ups every game, and he might make half of them and still not going to matter. Atlanta does not create enough in the way of three-point shots. They might get hot from Trae Young, but it's really hard for me to think that Atlanta is going to even win one game in this series because they give up so much size at the point of attack. And even when Boston slows things down, it'll probably come down to Jason Tatum matchup hunting with Trae Young. The Celtics get to the free throw line at a really high rate. And what the Hawks did to the Heat, which was spam the offensive glass, and really kill them on that front. The Celtics allow the fewest amount of offensive rebounds in the NBA. They're just top to bottom such a hard team to poke holes at unless you have a player of a Giannis or Embiid level that can punish a team that may not have Robert Williams available for 30 minutes every night. This is a mismatch. Celtics in 4.
Ooh, sweep. Seahawk.
I got Celtics in 5, man. I think all they have is they lost Horder to the Kings, so they only have like 3 players I feel that could, put up numbers every night, and that's not enough, with the Celtics playing high-end defense and Tatum and Jaylen Brown on the court. With Brogdon, they just added and Smart, so they got a number of players that could contribute to the Celtics. So I think it's going to be I think they'll get 1 game, the Hawks. So I'll say 5.
Man, I really want to go like Celtics in 6, just because I don't know, man. I like Trey. I like Atlanta. I like the players that they have on that team. But I think it'll be like a Celtics in 5.
Celtics in 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
might go 6 though.
I could maybe. All right, so that was our first round picks. We had a lot of basketball talk, gentlemen. I want to say thank you for joining me, for your picks, for your knowledge, for your basketball IQ, all of the above. Really excited to see the results of our first round, and I'm also excited to do another episode to see the other picks that we had going on. But yeah, man. So Micah, I want to say thank you, and Seahawks staff. Micah, if you have any social media stuff that you want to plug real quick?
Yeah, sure. You can find my stuff on clnsmedia.com. That's where I cover the Boston Celtics. I also run an NBA Instagram account called the @NBA Interact. You can find some of my stuff there. I am always open to talking about the NBA. It's my favorite league in any sport to cover, and always open to talking anything from trade rumors to draft to just shooting the shit when it comes to the playoffs. This is the best time of the year, and I'm so excited.
Micah, my guy. Seahawk, you got anything to plug, my boy?
Thank you for having me for the first time on the Time Flies podcast. I appreciate it. I can't wait to see how this first round is going to go. It should be interesting, and I can't wait for the part 2. Let's get it.
I bet. Steph, my boy.
You follow my Instagram at Stefan STEFAN _Lozano. Biggest Clipper fan in the world. Nah, I'm just kidding. That's Clipper Darryl for us.
Darryl.
Oh,
let's get this first season going. Let's get this playoff season going. You're doubting us again. I love it. We're the underdogs. Let's get it. Let's go. We're deeper than the Suns. You kidding me?
Lecture.
AJ ain't him. He's going to be hurt before the first game. He's going to go up for a layup and hurt his ankle, so we're good.
Yo, you sound just like your brother, which reminds me.
Kawhi's about to go off. Kawhi's about to go off, bro. Eric Gordon's going to shoot like 45%. Like, bro, it's about to be a movie.
Yeah, so before...
Fuck Devin Booker.
Damn,
Bad Bunny's fucking your bitch right now. Bad Bunny's tapping that shit right now, and what are you doing?
Oh, my God. My boy's wilding. I will say though, yo, Kawhi,
nothing like playoff trash talk, man.
100%.
So glad it's that time of year.
100%. Yo, I'll make another State Farm commercial. Yeah, bitch.
Steph, I will say about Kawhi though, like I have been watching Kawhi play the last few games and
doing well.
Nah, he's the Terminator, bro. He's so efficient. It's insane.
Oh, it's playoff time. This is why we load manage, baby. For this time right now, this is why we load manage. So it's go home. Yeah. Let's go.
Too bad he's injury prone and he created load management.
He'll be fine. Don't trip. He'll be fine.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes the robot has a malfunction. That's true.
Facts.
If it wasn't for that dirty player on the Utah Jazz who undercutted him when he went up for the layup in the playoffs 2 years ago, we'd be fine. Is that Australian motherfucker? I forgot his name. Okay. Micah, you know what I'm talking about.
No, I'm not going to name names, but I will say there's a certain level of physicality in the playoffs that maybe he was just not prepared for.
A little cheap. It was a little cheap. I was there. I was right in front of it. I was right on that end of the court, and I saw it. It was cheap, man. What's his name?
There was the Zaza Pacheep shot.
I really don't know.
Oh, was it Dante Exum?
No,
Australian player?
No, it wasn't. It was not Dante Exum.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
It was a tall white dude.
Oh, okay.
Damn, who can shoot buckets, low key, but he's a dirty ass
plays
player.
With Milwaukee.
Joe Ingles.
It was Joe Ingles? I was gonna say that.
Yeah, man. That piece of shit.
Yeah, he's been like a little bit. He's not a dirty player, but he's had instances where it's like, whoa, what was that? So
I heard Podcast P wants to do a crossover pod with Time Flies.
Yeah, yo. Let me know. I will be there. I will be there, bro. I don't care. I'll be there. And I'll keep the same energy. And I'll keep the same energy. And I'll keep the same energy, bro. I'll tell everything, bro. I'll be like, what happened?
Dario doesn't like none of the LA players, man.
Nah, it's not that I don't like them, bro. It's just like I don't like people giving all this credit to people who don't deserve it. Like, what the fuck has Paul George done in the playoffs? What has he done?
PG for the Pacers.
What has KD done on his own?
Oh, on his own. Okay, whatever, man. On his own. Even though
we'll see.
Got 2 finals fucking MVPs, averaging 30 points, averaging 28 points, dog. What the fuck are you talking about? Stop.
Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, right in the background, you know, to clean up any mess that he would make. You know, it's easy to be comfortable with a team like that, you know, and just shoot.
There's literally nothing I can say to make you change your mind. Just like how
because it's true, bro. It's true. You can't go from the best regular season team. I mean, you can't go from losing a 7-game series against the best regular season team and just join them the next year and not be criticized, bro.
Here's
like the NBA was.
Here's a quick question I have about Dario's take with the Warriors. You obviously are not a Paul George fan. Swap Paul George with Kevin Durant. I still think that Warriors team is pretty much unbeatable.
Yes, they would still win the championship. Yeah. They would still win.
They would.
And Paul George might even be the Finals MVP.
Because he's a two-way player, Dario. That's why he's a two-way player, right? Is KD still a two-way player?
KD's a better defender than people give him credit. Way better defender than people give him credit. I don't know if I would say two-way player.
Make all defense, but Kevin Durant is never the reason why his team lost because of his defensive lapse.
Exactly. He's a way better defender player than people give him credit for. Now, going back to your question, Micah, honestly, man, I would have to think about it. Because what about
in the 2017, not the 2018 finals when Irving was not on the team, but in the 2017 finals, do you think that the Cavs would have won that series if Paul George was on the team instead of Kevin Durant?
2017, first year, and
that was the year when the Warriors had the best net rating in NBA history, and they murdered.
I think that was and Paul George had one of his career years that year as well.
Nah, listen, man, I would have to think about it because can Paul George?
Oh my God, you're such a hater.
Paul George hit the shots that KD shot in that series to win the series? Listen, He can, but has he done it on the?
Bro, he hit him against Utah in the playoffs 2 years ago. Right? He just come on, bro. I think look, I'm with you. I'm not a huge lover and big believer of Paul George. I've definitely seen a lot of his lows, but I've also seen his highs. And like I think he deserves a little more respect than people give him. I think the bubble was
Name me a high.
Like I just said, the willing the Clippers past the number 1 seeded Utah team in 2 years ago.
And Kawhi got injured what, the second game or third? What game?
He got injured game 4.
Game 4? And what
game 4?
Do you remember the series? Was it like 2-1?
It was 2-2.
Yeah. And PG stepped up.
He went into Utah. Everyone had Utah beating them after Kawhi went out. Everyone's like, all right, this is Utah. They're going to take advantage, blah, blah, blah. He went into Utah and, I want to say he put up like 40 plus, something like that.
Oh, he did. That was, as a Utah fan at the time, and also somebody who was covering them for a writing outlet, it was one of the more infuriating experiences because the Jazz were sending multiple bodies at him and doing everything that you would expect a playoff team to when, they don't have Kawhi to also worry about, and he was still hitting everything.
Listen, man, I get it. 2-2 against Utah, and then Kawhi Leonard gets injured. But Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, they did half of the job. Then Paul George just had to win 2 more games. That sounds really crazy. But
2 playoff games, bro.
I get it, but can you give me
dismissing it, man?
I'm dismissing a little bit. The only example you can give me are those Pacer and Miami Heat series. When he was
he went toe-to-toe LeBron.
Yeah, I'll give him credit for that. And he was a young Paul George. Ever since then, everything has been like there's always been an asterisk with him. With the Utah Jazz.
It's just the bubble. The bubble got everyone fucked up, man. Yeah. And it's okay, man. He had a mental health issue, bro. I thought we're accepting of mental health, like we should be supportive of people who come out about their mental health. Paul George was struggling mental health-wise in the bubble, and like he had a bad series.
I'm not knocking him for that. I'm not knocking him for mental health, but
but everyone knocks him for that, bro. Everyone knocks.
I'm not knocking him from that. I'm not.
Paul George is going to make the Hall of Fame most likely.
Facts.
He's also not a player that will be good enough that we'll be talking about 20 years from now and saying, man, like I'm not going to be telling my kids saying, I can't believe that you didn't get to watch Paul George. That is not something I will ever tell my kids.
All right. So, all right, gentlemen.
Good, but he will likely make the Hall of Fame.
All right. Essentially, I tried to close this out like 20 minutes ago, but of course, we got into another conversation. But for Time Flies, you can find all the links in the description for the Instagram, Twitter, Reddit, and I joined the dark side. I joined TikTok, baby. Go follow Time Flies at TikTok. That's how to blow up. I'm trying to blow up, sell these shirts, become rich, and create my own studio, not this like whatever studio I have in right now. But anyway, all the links in the description below. Follow, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, and also subscribe to the channel on YouTube. And if you listen to this podcast on any of the podcast streaming platforms, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google, make sure you follow, rate, and review the podcast. And until next time, we'll see you on the next episode of the Time Flies podcast.
Daryl, don't let the Clippers be KD.
Right,
don't let the Clippers be KD.